Chapter 1194. I'm dizzy, but I'm done. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to sleep. Bang, bang, bang. The spears slammed into the demonic cauldron. 5 Devil Slayer strikes. 6 Devil Slayer strikes. 7 Devil Slayer strikes. In an instant, the spears shone with divine light, as well as the creatures that emerged from them, forming a vast ocean that slammed into the demonic cauldron. The unstoppable power sent the entire demonic cauldron flying backward. Countless demon gods were crushed by the demon-slaying power. The demonic light on the cauldron dimmed. Puffed. The heaven-shrouding devil cauldron was the anima destiny devil item of Grand Emperor Heaven Shrouding, and had been created from pre-heaven spirit embryos. It was made from the most inconceivable chunk of devil soul god steel, and as soon as it was complete, it would be able to consume the spirits of all creation and even devil gods. Any devil god that entered the cauldron would be devoured and would become a part of it, giving it the same level of battle prowess it had been when it was alive. The more demon gods it devoured, the stronger the demonic cauldron became. Given Shroud Heaven's power, the demonic cauldron had devoured countless creatures and demons. Once it was suppressed, billions of demons would attack at the same time. It was the most terrifying demonic treasure on the demon god continent. It wasn't the least bit inferior to Khanate treasures. The demonic cauldron was connected to Shroud Heaven's mind. The spears slammed into the demonic cauldron again and again, causing it to tremble violently and be sent flying. Great Emperor Shroud Heaven's body trembled violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was as if he'd been severely injured. The 9 Devil Slayer strikes was a supreme technique created by the combined wisdom of countless peerless geniuses on the Violet Gold continent. The higher one's cultivation, the more powerful it would be. Puffed. The Sky Demon Cauldron was hit again and again, retreating repeatedly. The 7th strike of the spear was too terrifying. Not good. Shroud Heaven can't hold on for much longer. Blood Conqueror, hurry up and go help. I'm about to sacrifice the entire plane. The sacrificial patriarch shouted, his face falling when he saw Grand Emperor Shrouding Heaven coughing up blood. He did not hesitate to destroy the one-on-one duel that was previously agreed upon. The Shifter Emperor is indeed extraordinary. I'm itching to test my skills. Please enlighten me. When the Bloody Blade Demon heard this, it didn't hesitate. Its entire demonic body instantly broke into the plane. The blood-red blade lotus under its body spun at an astonishing speed. Clang, clang, clang. Numerous sharp, blood-red, demonic sabers swept towards D. Shurtion in an overwhelming manner, using various saber techniques to seal off every inch of space for him to dodge. The blade was aimed at every vital part of his body. Every blood saber was filled with the smell of blood. They were made of countless corpses and bones. Indestructible imperial body. D. Shurtion did not flinch. The spear in his hand was once again aimed at Shroud Heaven Great Emperor's heart, but it was blocked by the demonic cauldron. The Shifter Emperor's body trembled slightly, and from within his flesh and blood, 12 indestructible divine rings were formed. 12 types of tyrannical desires swept across the entire plane in a frenzy. A rain of blood fell from the sky. Heaven and earth mourned. Countless desires rushed into the bodies of the Judgment divine guards and demon gods, trying to pull all of the demon emperors into their endless desires. Formless mirror, colorless and formless. Illusions of all forms. Protect the mind. No heart demons, no desires. The boundless power of desire caused many of the demon emperors and divine guards to fall into a trance. Countless terrifying desires appeared in their minds, and their minds were pulled into the boundless realm of desire. But the formless mirror suspended in the sky shot out rays of divine light, enveloping all of the demon gods and divine guards. All of the desires were blocked outside and could no longer be eroded. Clang, clang, clang. Countless blood sabers carried the power of slaughter as they slashed at the vital parts of the demon emperors. They collided with the 12 indestructible divine rings around the demon emperors. Cracks appeared on the blood sabers, and they were sent flying away. But the destructive power of the blood sabers also quickly cut the indestructible divine rings into pieces. At the same time, a golden sword with the tyrannical power of judgment slashed at the demon executioner war spear. The sword carried a supreme aura, and within it, countless Tao runes of judgment intertwined. It quickly clashed with the demon executioner war spear. Shifter Emperor, you can't escape. Lord Paragon of Judgment is about to arrive. You're now trapped in a cage. You can't escape even if you have wings. Today is the day you bow your head. The golden sword in Jin Buhuan's hand carried the power of 300 judgment divine guards in a lofty posture. It gathered into a terrifying sword that could cut through the chaos, and it swept out. Clang! The combined power of the 300 divine guards of judgment was even more powerful than when the supremacy of judgment had attacked the soaring firmament demon court. Their sword collided with the demon executioner spear, stopping the spear as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Shifter Emperor, today I will avenge my son. I will refine you into a wisp of remnant soul in my demonic cauldron. Shroud the sky demon. Cauldron suppresses the heavens. Shroud the Sky Demon Emperor saw the bloody saber demon and the judgment divine guards block Di Shurtian's attack at the same time. Without thinking, he roared, and his body shone brightly. A huge primordial spirit suddenly jumped out of his body, grabbed the demonic cauldron, and teleported above Di Shurtian's head. The demonic cauldron smashed down heavily on Di Shurtian's head. Above the demonic cauldron, countless demon gods were singing the praises of the demonic Tao. The essence of the demonic Tao, the divine skills, roared down like a tidal wave. The void under the demonic cauldron was annihilated in the blink of an eye. It constantly shattered and turned into dust. The aura of great destruction filled every inch of the void. It was as if a supreme demon ancestor was suppressing him with all his might. The demonic cauldron's power was completely unleashed. Clang! Di Shurtian's black hair danced wildly. Every strand of hair could cut through the void. His left hand appeared on the hilt of the tiger soul behind him. With a twist of his wrist, the tiger soul, which had been silent for a long time, was unsheathed. When it was unsheathed, it was accompanied by a domineering tiger roar that shook the heavens. The tiger roar was filled with arrogance. Above his head, there was a faint golden tiger god roaring at the heavens. If you want my life, then you'll have to pay with your life. Die. The tiger soul in Di Shurtian's hand shot out a dazzling golden saber light. The saber runes that looked like fish bones flickered violently. The Emperor's chi flowed out of the saber light. In the face of the shrouding sky demon, the demonic cauldron didn't seem to care in the slightest. The moment Tiger Soul was raised, the 3,000 gods and devils around the blade released boundless death intent. The battle blade in his hand executed the 3,000 saber art. Boundless heaven and earth origin energy instantly caused the 3,000 gods and devils to reach the half-step sovereign rank. The boundless heaven and earth origin energy fused into the blade, causing the aura of Tiger Soul to rapidly expand. Extreme Monarch Emperor Tao, Demon God Morning. The Tiger Soul instantly transformed into a simple saber blade. It didn't reveal the slightest bit of divine light. It simply slashed toward Great Emperor, shrouding heaven with unbelievable speed. Di Shurtian had constantly nurtured the Tiger Soul with his flesh and blood. It had reached the peak of the heavenly tier. Its sharpness had reached an unimaginable level. Sky shrouding umbrella, block for me. Great Emperor, shrouding heaven's face, revealed a ferocious expression. At this moment, Jin Buhuan's Judgment War Sword had already slashed toward Di Shurtian's arm along with the Demon Slayer spear. Countless blood sabers continuously slashed at the indestructible divine ring. With his demonic cauldron suppressing the void, this was the best time to kill the Yao Emperor. Even in the face of Di Shurtian's lightning saber, he couldn't retreat even half a step. To be able to reach his level, he definitely didn't lack ruthlessness in his heart. In the face of this opportunity to kill the Yao Emperor, he wasn't willing to let it go, even if it meant putting himself in danger. He took out his other supreme demonic treasure, the sky-shrouding umbrella. A pitch-black demonic umbrella instantly appeared above his head. As it opened, a kind of darkness covered heaven and earth. The demonic will of heaven and earth spread wildly in all directions. The entire plane was pitch black. Kacha, Tiger Soul, appeared in front of the bulwark umbrella in an instant. It slashed down and clashed with the bulwark umbrella. Within the umbrella, the bulwark umbrella kept spinning. It seemed to be able to deflect the destructive power away from it at all times. It was able to deflect any attack. It was extremely mysterious. But at this moment, the sky-shrouding umbrella kept spinning, but it couldn't deflect the Tiger Soul's power. This was because the saber chi in the saber was all contained within the saber. Not a single bit leaked out. It couldn't be deflected at all. The sky-shrouding umbrella clashed with the Tiger Soul. Instantly, there was an intense clash between the two. Waves of destructive forces were blocked by the sky-shrouding umbrella. But the Tiger Soul's sharpness was completely unleashed. It was a stalemate. With a crisp sound, the huge Tiger Soul instantly cut the sky-shrouding umbrella apart. The saber slashed down on Great Emperor shrouding Heaven's head. At the same time, the blood-red blade continued to shatter the undying divine rings one after another. Great Emperor shrouding Heaven's indestructible primordial spirit hugged the huge demonic cauldron and smashed it heavily on Di Shirtian's head. Above his head, the crown suddenly emitted an endless amount of imperial brilliance, like a small purple-gold sun. The Celestial Emperor's chariot rumbled violently. The Celestial Emperor furnace spun at an unprecedented speed. A huge Celestial Emperor Dharma idol formed in the chariot. The Celestial Emperor Dharma idol looked exactly like Di Shirtian. It quickly merged with Di Shirtian's real body and covered the entire Celestial Emperor's chariot. The Dharma image of the Emperor reached up and tried to block the demonic cauldron with an indomitable posture. Rumble! The heaven-shrouding demonic cauldron smashed down domineeringly. The Dharma idol's power was comparable to that of a half-step sovereign. But as soon as its hands came into contact with the demonic cauldron, it only managed to hold on for a moment before its hands began to shatter. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1195. Clang. The Emperor Dharma power was comparable to a half-step sovereign. However, under the suppression of the demonic cauldron, the Emperor Dharma power started to crumble inch by inch and turned into dust. The Emperor Dharma power had been accumulated since the creation of the Celestial Emperor's war chariot. It was formed by refining the heaven and earth yuan qi from the Celestial Emperor's furnace. It was the most powerful trump card of the war chariot. The Dharma power could only slow down the demonic cauldron for a short period of time. The cauldron chimed continuously. Countless demon gods unleashed their superpowers to attack the Emperor Dharma power. In the blink of an eye, the Emperor Dharma power collapsed completely. However, in this short period of time, Di Shirtian had gained precious time and opportunity. Roar, roar, roar. On Di Shirtian's Emperor's robe, a vermilion bird, a green dragon, a white tiger, a black tortoise, and a Qilin roared angrily and rushed out. There were 9 of them each. Each of them had the fighting power of an ancient demon god. The Emperor's robe was an Emperor Dao artifact. It could continuously absorb the Emperor's qi and the power of faith. Now, there were close to 100 billion demon gods sending out their pious faith day and night. Most of them had entered the Emperor's robe. It was a divine artifact. However, it wasn't a war divine artifact. It was a regular divine artifact. It was a lower-grade supreme divine artifact. 45 divine beasts of the 5 directions roared and surrounded Di Shirtian as they charged towards the demonic cauldron. Jiao Geli, the demon emperor has brought so many treasures. Today is the only chance to kill the demon emperor, let alone a supreme divine artifact. Even an immortal divine artifact must be destroyed. Knife Principle Reincarnation. The Bloody Blade demons, Eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw Di Shirtian's endless tricks. In the void, countless blood blades quickly formed blood-red blade lotuses. As they spun, the will of reincarnation flowed. Moreover, they spun faster and faster. Countless blades slashed across the void, leaving terrifying cracks in the void. Clang! Clang! Countless saber lotuses were shattered by the undying divine rings, but the undying divine rings were also collapsing at an astonishing rate. The speed at which they were being created was unable to keep up with the rate at which the undying divine rings were being destroyed. Suppress them all to death. Great Emperor Shroud Heaven's nascent divinity hugged the devil cauldron with a ferocious expression. The devil cauldron was filled with the power of countless devil gods, and it was suppressing the god beasts. Bang, bang, bang. The 5 divine beasts were unusually domineering. Each of them was formed from the power of faith and carried the majesty of the Emperor's Tao. They were the nemesis of all demon gods and had a strong restraining effect. The blue dragon slammed into the tripod like a dragon swinging its tail. It wanted to slap the demonic tripod away. The white tiger spat out countless platinum sword chi. The vermilion bird kept spitting out vermilion bird divine flames. The black tortoise's skin was tough. It blocked the tripod and tried to lift it up. In every instant, there were millions of collisions. The demonic tripod was shaking violently. However, the demonic tripod was still unstoppable. It destroyed the 5 godly beasts and returned to the Emperor's robe. The Emperor's robe dimmed. Bang! The demonic tripod landed solidly on Di Shirtian's head with a terrifying boom. The entire Celestial Emperor's chariot sank. Countless saber lotuses hit it. All of a sudden, the surrounding void started to crumble and shatter. Large patches of void started to crumble and crumble. Countless godly lights flashed. All kinds of demonic roars were heard. It was impossible to see what was happening inside. However, Di Shirtian's tiger soul was clearly visible. When Di Shirtian was attacked, the golden tiger soul cut into the sky-shielding umbrella. The blade was extremely sharp. Great Emperor Shroud Heaven used all kinds of divine abilities to try and stop the tiger's soul, but he couldn't. Crack! That majestic demonic body was easily cleaved into 2 by the tiger's soul. The remaining nascent divinity in the demonic body was swallowed by the tiger's soul. Rumble! A purple gold palm formed in front of the sky-shielding war chariot. Billions of stars appeared in the palm, forming the Xing He. It was spinning in reverse, emitting a mighty power that could crush the sun and moon. It had a strong devouring power. It grabbed Great Emperor Shroud Heaven's demonic body and pulled it back. Shifter Emperor, give me back my body! Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor roared furiously in the middle of the chaotic void battlefield. It was Great Emperor Shroud Heaven's nascent divinity. He hugged the demonic tripod, his face full of anger. Roar! The primordial 9 dragons were still madly fighting against the 9 demonic dragons. The Celestial Emperor war chariot didn't fall from the void. Instead, it stopped 1,000 zhang above the ground. As the godly light dissipated, countless cracks appeared on the Celestial Emperor war chariot. The Celestial Emperor war chariot's canopy was shattered. The crown on Di Shirtian's head was covered in cracks. The godly light dimmed, and his black hair was disheveled. The Emperor's robe on his body was abnormally dim. Terrifying cracks could be seen on his face, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared on his face. He looked like a broken piece of ceramic. It was a terrifying sight, but the cracks were healing at an astonishing speed. Waves of imperial, indestructible, true force flowed through his body. The tiger's soul was in front of him, and in its left hand was a demonic body that had been split in half. The demonic body was healing rapidly, and the 2 halves were fusing back together. It wanted to recover. Let this emperor eat you. Di Shirtian glanced at Great Emperor Shroud Heaven's nascent divinity and sneered. He reached out and opened his mouth, swallowing the demonic body that contained boundless power. He didn't give the demonic body any chance to resist. He sent it into the demon refining cauldron. Rumble. The Lianyao cauldron operated at full power. Immediately, the entire demonic body was destroyed, crushed, and refined into strands of pure Emperor true force, which surged into the Emperor's body. The abilities, demonic arts, and even the demonic body's comprehension of the Great Way were extracted by the Lianyao cauldron, condensing into the sky-shrouding demonic tome. It was sent to the demon court to increase the Imperial Jade Archives Foundation. We can't hold back anymore. The demon emperor is too cruel. Any one of us won't have an advantage against him. We have to work together to suppress him. Sacrifice to heaven and earth. In an instant, countless souls appeared on the pitch-black altar, worshipping it devoutly and uttering sacrificial chants. Each of the chants was abnormally profound. The heaven-worshipping ancestor sat on the pitch-black altar. The altar suddenly shot out billions of rays of divine light, as if it had completely merged with the entire plane. Rumble. The entire plane began to shake violently. A transparent crystal wall appeared in the empty space, revealing the entire plane. Suddenly, countless mysterious runes flashed on the crystal wall. They turned into demons and made strange prayers. Immediately, the plane began to shake violently. A powerful repulsive force enveloped Di Shurtion and the Celestial Emperor's chariot. It was as if the body mobilization art had been used on them. Heaven and earth were rejecting him, erasing him from existence. Even the slightest movement required a shocking amount of power. It was comparable to 4 or 5 half-step sovereigns unleashing their power at the same time. Under this kind of heaven and earth overturning and crushing, Di Shurtion's battle prowess was instantly suppressed by nearly 30%. This is our chance. Kill. Jin Buhuan's eyes lit up when he saw this. He roared, and the golden battle sword in his hand shone even brighter. Judgment Sword Codex, heinous beyond redemption. Rumble. The golden battle sword instantly emitted a supreme aura. It actually condensed into the illusory figure of the Judgment Sovereign in the void. The mouth of the illusory figure was filled with solemnity and holiness as it pointed at Sakura and shouted, "Demon Emperor, you are unpardonable evil. Why don't you bow down and accept your punishment and accept your trial? You've sinned. You've sinned. You've sinned." These 3 words reverberated in the void. They could break any cultivator's defenses and force them to bow their heads and accept their punishment. The aura of the battle sword continued to expand. 10 times in a row, the power of the 10 sins was completely infused into the battle sword, causing the power of the battle sword to increase tenfold. It was now a paragon in terms of battle prowess. It was like an enormous sun descending from the heavens toward Di Shurtion. Hand over shroud heaven's body. Blood saber shakes the 9 provinces. The saber lotuses beneath the bloody saber devil crumbled and formed a gigantic blood saber that connected the heavens and the earth. It was extremely ferocious, with countless blood-colored serrated teeth. If it slashed through the air, it would cut the world in half. The saber spun and split into 9, all of which slashed toward Di Shurtion from different angles. Appear, devil god of great destruction. Destroy the enemy in front of you. Hundreds of unparalleled demon emperors shouted at the same time. Surges of energy burst out from their bodies, forming a strange demon diagram in the void. Within the demon diagram, a gigantic demon god with 3,000 arms and 3,000 heads, holding 3,000 terrifying demon treasures and demon weapons in his hands, and wearing black demon armor, appeared in the void. This demon god was at least 1,000,000 feet tall. As soon as it appeared, it looked no different from a corporeal body. Bursts of great destruction power surged crazily from its body. The pressure that was close to the level of a devil ancestor instantly filled the entire realm. Good, very good. Today, all of you will die. If you want to kill me, let's see how many lives you have. Shroud Heaven is the first, but you will not be the last. Sakura took in a deep breath. The shattered flesh and blood in his body were recovering rapidly. In the intense battle earlier, he had to fight against a few unparalleled experts who were not inferior to him. Even with his strength, he was still severely injured. There was a trace of purple-gold blood at the corner of his mouth. However, the Emperor's aura and battle intent on his body did not show any weakness. A light flashed in his hand, and a shocking aura swept across the heavens. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1196. Upvote those with tickets. Ding dong. A clear and melodious sound of a guqin rang out in the entire realm. In front of Di-Shur Tian, a mysterious ancient zither that was like a black crystal appeared instantly. On the ancient zither, the 9 strings seemed to have spirituality as they constantly jumped and emitted a clear and melodious zither sound. Looking at the 9 strings, they were all different. Their colors were distinct, and in the grooves on the sides of each string, there was a mysterious spiritual bead inlaid in them. Counting carefully, there were a total of 8. Each of the spiritual beads exuded a different origin energy. They were metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, and sun, the 8 origin powers. The 8 spiritual beads had elevated the entire 7 sins demonic guqin to the level of a supreme, acquired spiritual treasure. It was comparable to a top innate spiritual treasure, but it still lacked the tying pearl. Di-Shur Tian looked at the attacks coming at him from all directions. He even felt the immense pressure and restraint from the entire world. He did not seem to be in a hurry. A throne appeared beneath him, and he sat on it. A guqin table appeared in front of him, and the guqin rested calmly on it. I had planned to leave this trump card for the trial paragon, but since you want to die, I'll let you have a taste of my 7 sins demonic guqin's power. You should feel honored, because you will witness the birth of a supreme innate treasure. My 7 sins demonic guqin will step on your corpses and shake the chaos, and even the ancient times. Di-Shur Ian's eyes were unusually deep. A light flashed in his hand, and a psychic treasure box appeared. He opened the jade box, and a pitch-black bead lay quietly in it. It was unusually introverted and did not glow at all. It looked like an ordinary bead. He casually picked up the black pearl and pressed it into the last notch. Ding-dong, ding-dong, ding-dong. The 9 strings on the body of the zither moved without any wind, constantly producing cheerful music. They jumped about briskly, as if they were celebrating their rebirth and even their transformation. As soon as the black bead fell into the groove, it merged perfectly with the groove, becoming a part of the guqin. A pure tying origin power burst out of the black bead, completely merging with the 9th string. Ding, ding, ding. In an instant, a 9-colored light burst out from the guqin. Like countless silkworms, it completely wrapped around the guqin. The 9 origins intertwined, and a mysterious aura circulated in the guqin. All the impurities were crushed and refined on the spot. Countless silk threads turned into a cocoon, wrapping around the guqin. Strange innate power flashed continuously. Ding-dong. Di-Shur Tian's divine eye opened quickly, and a divine light fell on the cocoon. The divine light was filled with the aura of time. With the cocoon as the center, time passed at an astonishing speed. In 1,000th of a second, millions of years had passed in the cocoon. To the outside world, it was less than a blink of an eye. Then, 9 crisp and ancient guqin sounds could be heard. The cocoon, a sparkling and translucent jade guqin, lay quietly in front of him. On the guqin, there was only a kind of natural charm, without the slightest trace of acquired qi. It was completely natural, without a trace of flaw. The guqin strings pulsed like a flowing spring. The highest level of music was also the most primitive and natural kind of natural return to nature. And after all this, in the outside world, it was less than a blink of an eye. Even the earth-shattering attack did not appear in front of him. The 7 sins demonic guqin had undergone an incredible transformation, transforming into a true innate cardinal treasure. Ding-dong. Di-Shur Tian looked around at the world that was faintly restrained. His hands fell on the guqin, and with a unique technique fell on the 9 strings. He casually plucked the strings of the guqin. Suddenly, a crescent-shaped blade condensed and shot towards the heaven-shrouding demonic cauldron at a speed that even the gods I couldn't catch. Clang! The sound blade struck the sky demon cauldron, and the entire demonic cauldron seemed to have been struck by lightning. The originally aggressive demonic cauldron was blocked in the air, and a clear blade mark appeared on it. Clang, clang, clang. Then, 3 sound blades fell on the demonic cauldron in a triangular formation. The demonic cauldron was sent flying into the air, and the countless demon gods in it were cut into pieces. 3 terrifying cracks appeared on the demonic cauldron. At the same time, blazing divine flames burned the demonic cauldron. The sound blades contained the supreme origin of fire. Shifter Emperor, you've sinned. You deserve death. Let me kill you. Jin Buhuan's sword fell directly like a sun. The tyrannical power that belonged to the supreme, immemorial realm in the sword could almost split everything apart. It was going to kill Sakura on the spot like breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Clang, clang, clang. Sakura's 10 fingers seemed to be flying as he rapidly plucked the zither strings with a kind of monarch's aura. Sharp guqin sounds filled with murderous chi rang out, and many dazzling sound blades slashed at the battle sword at an unimaginable speed. In an instant, all the monks could see a golden battle sword slashing down with an extremely domineering aura, but it was only 3 inches above Di Shurqian's head. As if it had been immobilized, no matter how much power Jin Buhuan poured into the sword, it couldn't go any further. Outside Sakura's body, there was a circle of formless sound ripples reverberating unceasingly, forming an area in front of the battle sword. One after another, the sound blades heavily bombarded the battle sword. Break! As his 10 fingers plucked the strings of the zither, an invisible force burst forth. Like a rebound, it sent the sword flying back. In front of Di Shurqian's sound attack, that ferocious sword seemed to have a strong start and weak finish. It immediately extinguished Jin Buhuan's monstrous aura. Bloody Saber Demon's blood saber also suffered the same fate in an instant. Ding ding dong dong. Di Shurqian's fingers kept plucking the strings, and he played a peerless killing song, Ambush from 10 sides. Once the sound of the zither rang out, a smooth melody quickly spread out like flowing water. Ripples continuously spread out in all directions. Everywhere it went, the originally sealed world turned into a wondrous sound domain in the blink of an eye. Within this sound domain, even the power of the world was repelled. Waves of shocking, murderous chi instantly shot up into the sky. In an instant, the entire plain turned into a vast and boundless ancient battlefield. Soldiers in blood-red armor appeared out of thin air amidst the ripples. There was a huge number of them. Each one of them was as strong as a peerless being. Then, they began to attack in all directions coldly. The leading general had the strength of a half-step sovereign. Not good, this is a killing song. Quick, we have to stop the Shifter Emperor from playing this killing song. I can feel the killing power contained in this killing song. It's almost earth-shattering. Once it's finished, it will destroy everything. The Bloody Blade Demon's expression changed drastically. He looked at the Emperor, sitting on the Heavenly Emperor's chariot, and he could feel an obvious anger and killing intent. His black hair was fluttering in the absence of wind, and it was filled with killing intent. Dang, dang, dang. The blood sabers slashed at all the soldiers at tricky angles. On the spot, the sharp blood-red saber tore the soldiers into pieces, but it was immediately shattered by the soldiers' blood-red sabers. The soldiers were all formed by sound waves, and they had incomparably sharp offensive power. Kill! 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 The soldiers' murderous voices were filled with killing intent. It was as if they could see mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The 100,000 soldiers surrounded the Bloody Blade Demon in the middle. Their actions were swift, and their attacks were orderly. They had the style of an army. The destructive power they unleashed was even more tyrannical. I'm a supreme god. All living beings, all power, must offer sacrifices to me. All glory belongs to me." The Heaven Tribute Patriarch sat on the altar and spoke mysterious words. Immediately, the 100,000 soldiers surrounding him ignited with blood-red flames as soon as they got close to the altar. In the blink of an eye, they were burned to ashes as if they were offering sacrifices to him. They turned into a unique power that entered the altar. However, the soldiers didn't immediately approach the altar. Instead, they shot arrows of blood at the Heaven Tribute Patriarch. The 100,000 soldiers mounted their war horses and charged toward Great Emperor Shroudheaven. Great Emperor Shroudheaven was burning with rage. He charged forward with the demonic cauldron, crushing the soldiers to dust. Countless divine chains of judgment appeared from the pillars of heaven and earth, slashing madly at the soldiers. The 300 divine guards of judgment were able to stack their power, making them exceptionally terrifying. Clang, clang, waves of intense murderous tunes rose and fell. In a gentle yet impassioned manner, the aura of the coming storm was completely revealed in the tunes. The tragic aura of the battlefield constantly drilled into the bodies of every demon god and divine guard. The one-head ambush from 10 sides blocked the enemies outside of him. Countless demons and cultivators in the demon court rejoiced at this sight. They looked at D. Shirtion, who was sitting on the chariot, with awe in their eyes. Some didn't even dare to look directly at him. He felt that the figure with the emperor body was unprecedentedly imposing, tall, and full of impact. He only felt that a peerless Fey emperor was slowly rising. Annihilation, cataclysm. At this moment, the huge Great Destruction demon god formed by hundreds of unparalleled demon emperors with all their might finally opened its 3,000 pairs of demon eyes at the same time after a period of silence. Every inch of his demonic body exuded the supreme will of the great annihilation. It could crush the chaos. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Right at this moment, a furious howl came from outside the plane. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1197. Today is Christmas Eve. Although I'm not very sensitive to Western festivals, I still wish my brothers and sisters a peaceful Christmas Eve. Swish, 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 swish. Hurricanes connected the sky and the earth like tornadoes, forming a storm. Inside, lightning intersected, and with a kind of angry will, they swept across the entire realm. If one looked carefully, they would find that the hurricanes were blowing toward the place where the unparalleled demon emperors were gathered. Countless wind blades could be seen clearly. Something is wrong. Could it be the shifter emperor's external help? I heard that the myriad tribulation ancestor, the ghost king, and the lightning ancestor, those 3 old farts, also came in. Quick, no matter who it is, we must not let them in at this moment. If we don't kill the shifter emperor this time, we won't have another chance next time. When the demon emperors outside saw this, their faces became abnormally solemn. Rumble. No one who could become an unparalleled demon emperor was a simple character. With a shout, one demon treasure after another was instantly shot out. One of them sprinkled out countless black demon sand in his hand. Each grain of demon sand turned into a cold demon weapon with unparalleled monstrous combat power and swept over in an overwhelming manner. One of them directly shot out a crystal skull, and the skull directly swallowed the hurricanes as if it was alive. One of them shot out a demon bell, and it shattered the hurricanes. Wait, in just an instant, the hurricanes outside were blown to pieces. They were annihilated one after another. How? At the same time, a strange bird that was several tens of thousands of feet in size appeared out of nowhere. Its wings were covered in snow-white feathers, and there was a pair of sharp snow-white claws under each of its wings. The claws were shining with a cold light and were exceptionally sharp. Its head was like a phoenix, and behind it, there were 3 divine feathers that were shining with brilliant divine light, which made people not dare to look directly at them. One was icy blue, one was crimson red, and one was purple. His eyes were full of anger and fierceness. Seeing those unparalleled demon emperors, a kind of monstrous pressure emerged from his body like a mountain, which made those demon emperors feel as if they could not breathe. A kind of ancient aura swept over out of thin air. Swish, swish, swish. The blue divine feathers swept toward the void. Crack! Ice crystals that were thousands of feet thick appeared out of nowhere in the void, sealing those demonic treasures in midair. The domineering cold chi seeped into their bodies through their pores. Oh no, it's an emperor-level savage beast. It's the legendary Emperor Phoenix. One of the demon emperor's expression changed drastically. Without hesitation, he unleashed a demon Dao spell. Thousands of demon souls appeared out of nowhere. They let out ferocious roars and pounced on the Phoenix Emperor as if they were going to devour it on the spot. A black demonic ring smashed towards the Phoenix Emperor bird's head at an astonishing speed. The Imperial Phoenix bird gave off an extremely violent aura. It didn't even look at the incoming attacks. It swept forward with its red feather, and wherever it went, the densely packed devil souls were enveloped by flames and burned to ashes amidst shrill cries. His head pecked at the demonic ring. With a cracking sound, the demonic ring shattered inch by inch into countless tiny fragments. It shot out. The Phoenix Emperor bird was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of an unparalleled demon emperor. It closed its wings, and the 2 pairs of sharp claws grabbed the demon emperor in the air. It grabbed the demon emperor's legs and tore. With a cracking sound, the demon emperor was torn to pieces amidst a shrill scream. With a sweep of its blue divine feathers, the demon emperor was frozen. Even his divine soul couldn't escape. The tyrannical combat power of an emperor-level savage beast was displayed in an instant. You've hurt my father. All of you must die. The Phoenix Emperor bird let out a cold, angry roar. It was Dur. Swish! The blue and crimson divine feathers behind Dur swept out at the same time. Everywhere they went, ice and flames appeared at the same time, intersecting and causing the void to be destroyed inch by inch. The 2 extreme powers collided, destroying the heavens and the earth. They howled as they charged towards the group of devils. The kind of unstoppable pressure enveloped the minds of every devil emperor. Quick, it's just an emperor-level savage beast. Its combat strength is immeasurable. It's much stronger than an ordinary peerless realm beast. Its body is tough. Most of our strength is used on the great destruction demon god. None of us is a match for it alone. Get into formation. Set up the formless sky demon formation. Block it first. The expression of an unparalleled demon emperor changed greatly, and he hurriedly shouted. In an instant, nearly 5 demon emperors were swept into the divine feather. They were crushed within the divine feather. Their bodies and primordial spirits were frozen at the same time and brushed into the purple divine feather. Formless sky demon formation. Seeing how ferocious the Dur was, the other demon emperor's expressions changed without even thinking. Immediately, 100 demon emperors used a mysterious method to set up a great formation. A huge demon diagram was tossed into the sky. It immediately covered the sky and turned into a huge sky barrier, enveloping Dur in the sky. The 100 demon emperors revolved in the sky. A world of its own was formed inside. How? Dur's eyes flashed fiercely. The divine feather behind her instantly brushed toward the sky like the sharpest sword. It exploded with an incomparably sharp light. Rumble. There seemed to be countless mysterious vortexes spinning in the sky. They were abnormally tough. When the divine feather brushed against them, the vast power caused the sky to tremble. However, the power that poured out was inexplicably swallowed by the sky. It was like a stone thrown into the sea. After a ripple, there was no more reaction. The heavenly dome continued to stand tall and strong, trapping Du within. Boom, boom, boom. Du didn't even think. The divine feather behind her continuously brushed out beams of dazzling divine light. The entire sky shook and trembled violently. The 100 demon emperors in the sky also trembled, as if they were also enduring an inexplicably strong pressure. When Du saw this, her confidence increased greatly. Without stopping, she crazily attacked the sky. Ambush on all sides. 10 million troops to slay the demon god. At this moment, the entire plain had completely turned into an ancient battlefield. Indra was shocked by the monstrous, murderous intent that erupted from the great destruction demon deity. However, the song of slaughter in his hands did not stop at all. The sound of the zither rang out intensely. The sound of the zither was filled with the murderous aura of an armored army. Clang, clang, clang. The rapid Guqin sounds reached a peak in an instant. Endless killing intent swept out in all directions. The ancient battlefield became even more condensed. As the impassioned sound of the zither rang out, troops with iron-like discipline appeared out of nowhere on the ancient battlefield that had been swept clean by the great destruction demon god. A total of 10 square formations were formed, emerging from 10 different directions. It was truly an ambush on all sides. In each square formation, there were nearly 1 million soldiers. In total, there were 10 million soldiers. They were densely packed like ants on the battlefield, surrounding all the enemies on the battlefield. Reverend Heaven Ancestor, Bloody Blade Demon, Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor, and even Jinbawan were all within the attack range. In these square formations, there were soldiers with swords, spears, cavalry, archers, crossbowmen, chariot soldiers, armored soldiers, and so on. In an instant, they were densely packed. Fierce killing intent condensed into a bloody cloud in the sky above the battlefield. Clang, clang, clang. Shurtian's Guqin sounds were filled with killing intent. The rapid Guqin sounds were the drums of war for all the soldiers. On the spot, countless soldiers swept towards the enemies. Most of them rushed towards the great destruction demon god. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Like a swarm of locusts, millions of blood-red arrows shot towards the great demon god of destruction in a dense manner. Every arrow was extraordinarily swift and powerful, carrying a powerful destructive force. They shot towards the great destruction demon god, wanting to turn him into a sieve. Destruction, great destruction. The great destruction demon god's body seemed to contain a will. 3,000 pairs of demon eyes shot out beams of demon light, blasting a large number of arrows into powder. However, there were still many arrows missing. In one of the demon hands of the 3,000 arms, there was an ancient demon bell. This demon bell was violently shaken. Dawn! The demon bell erupted with a domineering sound that could almost drown out Shurtian's Guqin sounds. Waves of black bell waves swept out and spread in all directions. All the arrows that were shot at him were shattered into powder on the spot. Signs of great destruction appeared all around. Kill! 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 The sky was filled with soldiers, and they rushed towards the great destruction demon god. Boom! Boom! In just an instant, the ancient battlefield had entered the most tragic state. Attacks from all directions covered the sky and the ground, shrouding the great destruction demon god within. All sorts of attacks blasted over, causing the sky and earth to crumble and the sun and moon to crumble in every instant. However, the great destruction demon god was really incredible. In the 3,000 demon arms, many destructive demonic treasures were used one after another. Demon bell, demon cauldron, demon mirror, demon drum, demon ring, and so on. Every attack exploded with great power, blasting a large number of soldiers into powder. They were smashed into powder. The fighting strength of the great destruction demon god was really shocking. Ambush from all sides. 8 gates golden lock array. Sokrat didn't hesitate at all. The sound of the zither in his hands became more and more hurried. With a shout, all the soldiers advanced and retreated in an orderly manner, instantly forming an inconceivable array. 8 mysterious ancient doors appeared out of nowhere on the ancient battlefield, enveloping the great destruction demon god. They rotated at an astonishing speed and were incomparably profound. A strange fog appeared out of nowhere. At the same time, a mysterious energy shrouded the area, making it impossible to see the situation inside clearly. Even the great destruction demon god was locked in the array. The power of the 8 gates golden lock array was almost earth-shattering. The 8 ancient gates were as terrifying as monsters that could devour the heavens. Loud roars could be faintly heard coming from inside. However, there were still countless soldiers charging in. The more soldiers that entered, the more tyrannical the formation became. Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor, your body is about to be refined by me. Your primordial spirit will die with it. Tion looked at Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor again. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1198. Within Sakra's body, the demon refining cauldron had already been activated to the extreme. It was frantically refining the incomparably tyrannical demonic body at every moment. The energy contained within the demonic body seemed to be boundless and boundless. Waves of energy spurted out and were swiftly plundered by the 108 Absolute Emperor's true acupoints like a bandit. Not even the slightest bit was left. However, at the same time, he could clearly feel that all of his aperture points were constantly undergoing a miraculous transformation. The mysterious ancient tree within his aperture points was wantonly absorbing energy as it continued to grow. The area within his aperture points was also continuously expanding. At every moment, he could feel the aura of life within. The devil body of Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor was a half-step devil ancestor, and the energy within it was greatly beneficial to all of his apertures. However, his apertures were like bottomless pits. No matter how much energy was poured into them, they showed no signs of filling up. This left Tion speechless. It was these apertures that were blocking the path to becoming a sovereign. Yao Emperor, you can't do anything to me. I'll kill you. Sky Demon Cauldron, billions of devil souls. Burn them for me. Erupt with the greatest power possible and crush the Yao Emperor to death. Shrouding Heaven Great Emperor looked ferocious. He could feel that the connection between him and his body had been completely severed. He couldn't feel anything at all. Rage filled every inch of his godly soul. Without thinking, he sent a mysterious demonic seal into the demonic cauldron. Immediately, the countless devil souls on the demonic cauldron let out miserable shrieks of terror, as if they could sense that their doomsday was coming. Black devil flames erupted from the souls, and a monstrous power poured into the demonic cauldron. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sky demon cauldron flew up into the sky and rapidly expanded. The ancient devil marks on its surface were clearly visible, and the surrounding heaven and earth crumbled inch by inch. Terrifying cracks appeared on the ancient battlefield, and an ancient aura pressed down. The cauldron was a heavy artifact. At this moment, under the burning of countless demonic souls, one could feel that the power contained in the ceiling was rising at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it had broken through to the level of demonic ancestor. Moreover, it did not stop there. It was still rising crazily. Strands of pitch-black demonic chi were abnormally heavy and terrifying. The pressure caused the surrounding world to crumble continuously. Collapse. Apart from the 8 gates gold lock formation, all the soldiers on the ancient battlefield were involuntarily imprisoned. They couldn't even move. It was as if time had stopped on the ancient battlefield. The vast pressure instantly crushed all the soldiers into dust. The immemorial 9 dragons let out a mournful wail and fell to the ground. The Celestial Emperor's war chariot descended. Even in the demon court, they could clearly feel a suffocating and terrifying pressure. Tian Can, Huang Quan, and the others' eyes were filled with fear. Clearly, they had all felt the inestimable and terrifying power. It was as if a person was standing at the foot of Mount Tai and looking up at it. He felt small, extremely small. This feeling came from a mind of a peerless expert. One could imagine how terrifying the power he was facing was. Crazy D, hurry up. Jatian has gone completely crazy. His demon cauldron is powerful because it can devour so many devil souls. Those devil souls are similar to your gravestone. They can use the same divine abilities they had when they were alive. Jatian's going all out, and now he's going all out. He's burning them all. He's using up all the power of the demonic cauldron. Even a ruler would have to avoid this power. If he were to face it head-on, he might be severely injured. He's gone mad. He's really gone mad. Dark was so shocked that his mind was about to jump out of his body. He screamed wildly. He could already feel the aura of death. That aura was too terrifying. It made him shudder. Virtual illusion released the crazy old man. Di Shirtian saw this and took a deep breath. He didn't expect Shitian to be so ruthless. He didn't leave himself any way out. This way, the demonic cauldron's power would be completely reduced by half. He had no idea how long it would take for him to recover. This kind of behavior was simply insane. Feeling the pressure pouring down the demonic cauldron, the sound wave from the seven sins demonic zither was being compressed to the point where it could only envelop the celestial emperor's chariot. He could clearly feel an inexplicable threat. With a solemn expression, he suddenly sent a hand seal toward the demonic cauldron. Whoosh! Only to see that above Indra's head, a long painting scroll appeared out of thin air. In this painting scroll, it seemed to be a stretch of snow white with nothing at all. But if one were to look carefully, they would be able to see countless inconceivable scenes, layers upon layers of beautiful scenes. One could see countless beauties, endless wealth, monstrous authority, and so on. It was gorgeous. The scroll suddenly vibrated. Immediately, an old man with messy hair and messy clothes appeared out of nowhere. His face was filled with madness. He stood in front of the demonic tripod. You want to kill me, so I'll kill you. I'm not afraid of you. Kill. As soon as the old man appeared, there was no normal light in his eyes. There was only endless madness as he screamed. Seeing the vast demonic cauldron crashing toward him, he let out a mad roar. He screamed, 3,000 great ways, divine bell of the yin, I'll kill you. Whoosh. 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 As the crazy old man screamed, he waved his hand and attacked the huge demonic cauldron. Instantly, huge pillars of the great ways appeared one after another around the crazy old man. They quickly intertwined and gathered in front of him, forming a yellow ancient bell. 3,000 strands of black-yellow chi hung from the ancient bell. With the mysterious aura of the Eye of Heaven Tao, it smashed toward the demonic cauldron. Rumble. Clang. In that instant, the entire plane collapsed, and the cage shattered. Heaven and earth were annihilated, and the void collapsed. The tolling of the bell caused heaven and earth to shatter, and then be reduced to dust. Even the heaven-worshipping patriarch and bloody blade, demon, spat out mouthfuls of blood as if they were struck by lightning. Crack! The divine divination bell shattered into tens of thousands of fragments in an instant and shot out in all directions. Each and every one of them was like a piece of divine metal. They weren't annihilated. The primordial spirit of shrouding heaven great emperor, who was holding the demonic cauldron, was shattered into pieces. It turned into fragments and entered the demonic cauldron. The demonic cauldron was also destroyed when the bell shattered. Although it didn't shatter, it was sent flying. Poof! Crazy Old's body was like a broken ceramic. Countless cracks filled his body, making him look extremely ferocious. Suddenly, his body collapsed into millions of pieces and shot out in all directions. However, a strange power appeared on Crazy Old's body. The broken pieces of flesh and blood flew back at an amazing speed and gathered together. In the blink of an eye, they reformed into a body that was exactly the same as Crazy Old. It was still as sloppy as before. It was still as crazy as before. Whoosh! Before Crazy Old could react, the virtual illusory realm whizzed over and swept him into the scroll. In the blink of an eye, he returned to D. Shurtian's body. At the same time, with a wave of his hand, the broken fragments of the divine bell of the yin were sucked over. The fragments contained rich 3,000 great Tao origins. However, they were dissipating at an astonishing speed. Some of the great Tao had already dissipated. Divine Bell of the Yin, merge with the Demon Court. Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, devour the fragments. Without hesitation, Di Shurtian sent the fragments into the Demon Court. The remaining great Tao inside was immediately devoured by the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive. These fragments were completely condensed from the purest 3,000 great Tao origins. The origin power inside perfectly fused with the great Tao in the Jade Archive. Ding! 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 Immediately, all the great Tao talismans in the Jade Archive were completed in an instant. They had become complete great Tao talismans. Moreover, nearly 400 great Tao heavenly pillars condensed at an astonishing speed at the same time. Although they looked extremely illusory, they were real. In an instant, the number of great Tao heavenly pillars in the Demon Court reached 1,800. The rich aura of the great Tao permeated the entire ancient city. Countless demons obtained a huge breakthrough. They comprehended a profound principle. The aura of the Demon Court increased by nearly twice. Ha! So that's how it is. Crazy D, it turns out that we were all wrong. We missed a way to directly upgrade the Demon Court to an immortal artifact. So there is such a way. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. After being stunned for a while, Dark couldn't help but laugh maniacally. He seemed to be extremely excited. It's too late to escape. You're finished, great Emperor shrouding heaven. You're destined to fall and become my stepping stone to the peak. Suppress him. Di Shurtian didn't have time to care about anything else. He saw the demonic cauldron being blocked by Crazy Old's self-destructive method. Without a second thought, he reached out and blasted a palm of the cauldron. A violet palm, flashing with billions of stars, appeared above the cauldron. It grabbed at the cauldron. Jetian's soul had been shattered by the divine bell of great divination. He had less than 30% of his strength left. This was the best chance to kill him. Let me help you, Diur. Dark suddenly charged out of the infernal prison, turning into a huge blood dragon formed entirely of blood blades. He roared and charged at the formless sky that trapped Diur with a fierce aura. He reached out with his claws to tear the sky apart. No! Formless mirror, protect me. Formless demon ancestor, I, Jetian, am willing to submit to you and obey your orders. Save me. Inside the demonic cauldron, great Emperor shrouding heaven let out a crazed roar. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1199. Great Emperor shrouding heaven let out a cry of despair. His voice carried a hint of submission, but it wasn't hard to detect a hint of unwillingness. Once he submitted, it would be extremely difficult for him to make any breakthroughs in his life. He originally had the potential to become an evil ancestor. In order to become a ruler, a sovereign, or a demon ancestor, the most important thing was an indomitable will without the slightest flaw. A strong sense of self that would not be influenced by anyone or anything. As long as one had this kind of potential, no one would be willing to truly submit to an expert or even a faction. That would be akin to losing one's sense of self. It would be akin to losing the true meaning of the word I. After all, which sovereign realm supreme exalt would submit to anyone or any other power? No, not a single one. Without a doubt, Great Emperor, shrouding heaven's cry, had cut off his own path to becoming an evil ancestor. The highest he could achieve in the future would only be the half-step evil ancestor. It would be difficult for him to see the evil ancestor's realm. Shrouding heaven, I'll do as you wish. Ding! A strange light suddenly flashed within the mysterious formless mirror. An unusually large and illusory demonic figure was formed. This demonic figure was the legendary, formless demon Ancestor. It was difficult to see his appearance clearly, but the unique aura of a sovereign was clearly emanating from him. Just the devil shadow alone seemed to be able to imprison the heavens and earth. The devil shadow looked at the purple gold hand that was about to capture shrouding heaven. The phaseless mirror in his hand shone over. Boom, boom, boom. In the ancient mirror, a jade-white finger appeared out of thin air. Moreover, as it extended out of the ancient mirror, it grew larger and larger until it reached the heavens and earth. Even the fingerprints could be seen clearly. A finger poked towards that purple gold hand that Sakura had blasted out. In the hand, countless stars twinkled and rotated. It was the extreme Emperor creation palm. Xing, he circlet. Phaseless finger of calamity. This finger contained the sovereign will that was unique to sovereigns. Under the sovereign will, it could destroy any attack as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The formless finger of calamity collided with the purple gold hand. Immediately, the jade finger pierced into the Xing he in the palm. Countless stars were shattered by the power of calamity. At the same time, Xing He's circling force erupted from the purple gold hand, continuously wearing down the power of the formless finger of calamity. In the blink of an eye, after a series of intense collisions, both the finger and the palm were annihilated. You want to leave? It won't be that easy. Formless demon ancestor. So what if you're the demon ancestor? Back in the ancient times, I wasn't afraid of you. But now, you're not even here with your true body. You're just a clone, and you want to suppress me? Today, I'll kill Jetian in front of you. I'll show you that I, Tian, am not someone you can humiliate. Bell of Heaven's reincarnation, give me the demonic cauldron and let me level up again. Upgrade to a Khanate cardinal treasure. Tian's eyes widened as he raised his eyebrows, and an unparalleled emperor's aura surged into the sky. Dawn! Above his head, an ancient-looking, crystalline bell appeared out of thin air. Images flashed on the surface of the bell. There was an enormous fusong tree with fire crows flying around it. There was a gourd vine with mysterious gourds growing on it. There was the god of wine gourd, the demon slayer gourd, the calamity gourd, and the purple gold gourd he'd plundered from the octopus emperor's island. There were also images of giants galloping through the air. It was as if countless worlds were being reincarnated within the bell. It flashed with unimaginable power. Suddenly, a bell chime rang out, and the bell appeared above the sky demon cauldron. The mouth of the bell became unnaturally large, and a powerful suction force swept the demonic cauldron toward it. The Bell of Heaven's reincarnation was a top-tier Khanate spirit treasure. It could even block a paragon's attack. Now that the demonic cauldron was at its weakest, it began to tremble. It couldn't break free from the bell. Formless demon ancestor, hurry up and save me. Great Emperor Shroud Heaven screamed from within the cauldron. Formless divine light. The demonic figure seemed to be completely enraged. He pointed the formless mirror at the Bell of Heaven's reincarnation, and a huge beam of divine light shot out from the ancient mirror. Within the divine light, one could vaguely see the shape of a finger. The divine light was almost twice as powerful as the formless finger of calamity. Under the divine light, even the bell couldn't help but stop. Annihilation divine light. How could Sakura allow the formless demon ancestor to destroy it? The heavenly punishment divine, eye between his brows, opened on the spot. At the same time, a purple gold annihilation divine light with supreme annihilation aura blasted towards the formless divine light. Rumble. The formless divine light had a unique, that was invisible and formless. It had an incredible defense, and it had the ability to dissolve any power. At the same time, it could dissolve any power. When it collided with the pure, destructive divine light, the void started to distort. The power of the two divine lights entangled, clashed, and destroyed each other. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared at the same time. Dang, dang, dang. In that instant, The bell of heaven's reincarnation sucked the entire demonic tripod into the ancient bell. The magical materials, divine items, and demonic patterns that belonged to the demonic tripod were all devoured by the ancient bell at an incredible speed. They merged into the ancient bell, and the impurities in the ancient bell were burned to ashes. The demonic soul divine metal that was used to forge the demonic tripod was completely devoured by the ancient bell, and it merged perfectly into the ancient bell. This gave the ancient bell unbelievable power. In the ancient bell, the 4 innate divine seals that were formed were perfected continuously, and they became even more exquisite and perfect. Faintly, the 5th innate divine seal was quickly formed. On the ancient bell, a picture scroll appeared again. Countless demonic gods flashed on it, and they seemed to be formed by countless mysterious demonic patterns. They were extremely vivid and lifelike. One could clearly hear the furious roars of the demonic gods. They had a demonic aura. The ancient bell quickly returned to Di Shirtian's head, and it floated above the purple-gold, auspicious cloud. It spun continuously, and it let out ancient bell chimes. Good. Yao Emperor, it seems that you really are seeking death. I will personally come to the heaven-reaching tower to find you. Since you refined heaven shrouding, you will take my place. I will plant a slave imprint on you, and you will be my slave forever. The demonic figure swept a cold glance at Di Shirtian, and his voice was filled with boundless fury. I will wait for you. Di Shirtian's eyes shone with the majesty of an emperor. He said proudly, if you come, I will kill you. Boom, boom, boom. His words seemed to shatter heaven and earth. Billions of thunderbolts roared in the void, and it seemed to have an earth-shattering impact. A cultivator who wasn't a ruler dared to say that he would kill the demonic ancestor. This was like an ant trying to empty Mount Tai. To all the cultivators who heard this, it was an incredible shock. In the demon court, the all-heavens cultivators were all dumbfounded. However, the countless demons in the city revealed fanatical expressions. In their hearts, Di Shirtian was an omnipotent god. As long as he was willing, there was nothing he couldn't do. Since he said it, he definitely could do it. If he said he would kill the demonic ancestor, then he really could. They only felt that the Yao Emperor's figure was so tall and majestic. I don't know if you can last until I come. However, I do hope that you can last a little longer, the demonic figure said eerily. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Only the ancient mirror continued to spin in the void. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the blood dragon formed by Ming and Di Yuer worked together. In the blink of an eye, the formless dome shattered. Hundreds of peerless demon emperors spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were pale, as if they had been severely injured. Roar! Di Yuer raised her head proudly. The divine feathers on her back swept toward the retreating demon emperors. Nearly 10 demon emperors were sealed in ice. She was about to join forces with Ming to kill them. Yuer, Ming, come back quickly. Di Shirtian's majestic voice drilled into their ears. The two who trusted Di Shirtian very much immediately gave up on the group of demon emperors and rushed back without hesitation. Ming returned to the infernal prison and suppressed it. Father, I'm back. I can help you beat the bad guys now. Look, Dior intimately stretched out her head and rubbed it against Indra's neck. She was so happy that the divine feathers behind her trembled slightly. In an instant, the silhouettes of nearly 40 unparalleled devil emperors appeared. They looked as if they wanted to be praised. Good. It's good that you're back. These peerless demon emperors are really good for me to increase my cultivation and strengthen the demon court. The innate divine items on them are also the best materials for advancement. When Di Shirtian saw this, he nodded and praised them generously. He waved his hand, and a powerful divine ability swept up the devil corpses and sent them into the demon's smelting cauldron. The demon's smelting cauldron spun rapidly, and vast amounts of memories, devil Tao divine abilities, and even enlightenment of the great Tao were extracted from the devil corpses. They condensed into demon tomes. At the same time, the innate divine items on them quickly gathered. including the ones in Great Emperor Shrouding's hands. There were no less than 300 of them. As for the rest of the spiritual essence, spiritual materials, and precious treasures, they were innumerable. Back to the demon court. Sakura didn't even think about it and drove the celestial emperor's chariot back to the city. The 9 ancient dragons grabbed the 9-headed demonic dragon that was killed by the aftermath of the battle and pulled the celestial emperor's chariot in satisfaction. Rumble. At this moment, a majestic pressure crazily filled every inch of the void like a tide. Heaven and earth seemed to be on the verge of crumbling as the supreme aura swept over. The divine guards of judgment respectfully welcomed the arrival of the paragon. Jin Buhuan and the other divine guards of judgment were overjoyed and shouted respectfully. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it on Chidian. Come, your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1200. It's a new week. Brothers, if you have a recommendation ticket, please help me. Drifting thanks you. The shout was like a thunderclap that shook the heavens and earth, causing a strong sense of fear in the hearts of the surrounding cultivators. At the place where the divine guards of judgment were respectfully bowing, the paragon of judgment appeared out of thin air. He wore a yellow robe and stood on the paragon of judgment pagoda. Inside the pagoda, countless cultivators were constantly roaring, mocking, angry, and even begging for mercy. All of these sounds entered the ears of the paragon of judgment, and it made him even more noble, mysterious, and powerful. He carried an ancient sword on his back, and his purple hair fluttered without any wind. He emitted a supreme pressure that swept through countless plains, causing countless treasure beasts to roar in fear. They were pressed to the ground, not daring to move at all. Shifter Emperor, you can't be thinking about who will come to save you right now, right? Where's that expert of yours? Why isn't he here now? Could it be that he has abandoned you? That's a pity. Tomorrow, on this day, might be the anniversary of your death. The paragon of judgment coldly swept a glance at Di Shurtian and the majestic demon court. That gaze didn't hide the trace of coldness and killing intent. Judgment, the mark on your face is finally gone. Sakura's words made the supreme trial elder's heart burn with rage. His face was burning hot, and his eyes were about to spit out flames of anger. Di Shurtian's face was full of contempt and mockery. He said, "You don't need to test me. I, Di Shurtian, will not protect any expert. If you want to fight, I will fight. If you don't want to fight, I will fight. I have never been afraid of your judgment. So what if you are an archaic paragon? You may not be able to suppress me." His voice was sharp and provocative. It felt like a tit-for-tat confrontation. Di Shurtian returned to his seat in the air above the demon court. Beside him were Tian Kan, Huang Quan, Tian Yunzi, the Elven Queen, Dao Lord Divine Crow, and the others. They all exuded an aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Roar! Diyu let out a provocative cry. She glared fiercely at the paragon of judgment. Supreme Being, you have to be careful. This Lingxiao demon court already has 2,000 pillars of the Great Way. You can't let it advance any further. Otherwise, once it becomes an immortal weapon, it'll be a huge problem. Jin Buhuan quickly reported to Judgment Supreme with a solemn expression. 2,000 pillars? Paragon's eyes narrowed. He looked at Di Shurtian and suddenly sneered. I have to admit that I admire you. I didn't expect you to make the ancient city grow to such a level in such a short time. It is indeed shocking. Unfortunately, your ancient city has accumulated too much. Without 3,000 pillars, it can't reach the immortal grade. Since I am here, you won't have another chance. This ancient city will be my spoils of war. He didn't hide his strong desire to possess the demon court at all. Clearly, he valued the ancient city very much. However, it was also strange that Paragon didn't attack Di Shurtian or the entire demon court immediately. Instead, he seemed to be in a leisurely and unhurried manner. Not good. Lunatic D. Paragon didn't attack immediately. It seems that he intends to trap us here. He must have used some other method outside. Maybe he'll trap us with a formation. He's setting up a formation right now. He's stalling for time. Dark's expression changed drastically, and he suddenly shouted, "Oomph." He needs time, and so do I. However, I'm sure there's more than one paragon coming this time. He's afraid that there's another paragon by our side. He wants to make sure nothing goes wrong and be fully prepared. However, he needs time, and so do I. Let's see who will have the last laugh. How could Tion not see through Paragon's attempt to stall for time? However, he didn't make a move. If he wanted to stall for time, he might be plotting something in the dark against the demon court. However, this was exactly what he needed. Innate divine artifacts merge with the ancient city. Perfect the grand Tao. Indra, however, didn't hesitate. He quickly sent the 300 or so innate divine objects he had plundered from those demon emperors into the soaring heaven demon court and appeared on the ultimate emperor's jade archive. Boom, boom, boom. The entire Ling Xiao demon court was shaking violently. Innate divine objects were quickly integrated into the ancient city, making it even more solid. Every piece of divine crystal was constantly transforming. All of them had been integrated with innate divine objects and had undergone a fundamental transformation. Swish, swish, swish. In the Jade Archive, new heavenly pillars of the Great Path were condensing at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, there were 200 of them. There were another 100 that overlapped with each other, but it also made the original heavenly pillar even more condensed. You want to become undying? In your dreams. The Supreme of Trials' leisurely demeanor suddenly changed. He didn't even think about it. Countless strands of Xian Huang energy came down from the pagoda below him. It emitted a divine light and suppressed the demon court with its domineering might. He wanted to crush the South Heaven's Gate on the spot. Outside the pagoda, countless demonic gods and living beings appeared, singing the praises of judgment. It was as if the entire universe was pressing down on him at the same time. Even a peerless expert would feel insignificant in the face of such power, as if they were facing the heavenly Tao. Clang! At this moment, the bell of heaven's samsara above Di Shirtian's head also instantly released a shocking divine radiance. Scrolls after scrolls started to revolve around the bell. They were extremely lifelike. It exuded the aura of a supreme treasure that suppressed the heavens, far surpassing that of an innate spiritual treasure. Countless demonic gods circled around the ancient bell. The fifth innate indestructible divine seal was born. The aura of the ancient bell became even more simple and unadorned. The bell of heaven's samsara. It became a low-grade, innate spiritual treasure. Once it was promoted, it didn't hesitate. It let out a bell chime and crashed into the pagoda. Bam! Before the pagoda could suppress the South Heaven Gate, it clashed directly with the bell of heaven's samsara. Immediately, a frightening roar accompanied the deafening chime of the bell. As soon as it rang, the surrounding heavens and earth started to crumble and show signs of destruction. The ancient bell's radiance dimmed on the spot. It seemed to have suffered a certain amount of damage. Bam, bam, bam. I'll destroy this bell of yours first. Laughing coldly, Paragon of Judgment smashed the pagoda against the ancient bell. Although the number of pillars in the Lingxiao demon court had increased to 2,200, he wasn't too worried. Those innate treasures had all been plundered. Now that they were confined here, the demon emperor couldn't possibly have a way to make the demon court continue to condense pillars of the heavens. He wanted to make Di Shirtian feel utter despair and destroy all of his trump cards. He wanted to see the despair in the monster emperor's eyes. Again and again, the pagoda collided with the ancient bell with boundless supreme power. Each collision caused the heavens and earth to crumble. Divine light shot out in all directions, and the void shook. The stars trembled. Indistinctly, the light on the ancient bell dimmed. Illusory realm, restrain the mad elder. Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, devour the great Tao. Ascend to immortality and suppress the chaos. Di Shirtian roared in his heart. Undetected by Paragon of Judgment, a stream of light rushed out of his body and burrowed into the ancient city. In the blink of an eye, it appeared on the Ultimate Emperor Jade archive. A wondrous scroll appeared on the Jade archive. In the picture scroll, one could see that the old madman with a crazed expression was currently lying within the picture scroll. All sorts of crazed expressions were unceasingly appearing on his face. In the picture scroll, one could see countless scenes of the old madman fighting against his enemies. It was as if there were innumerable enemies facing the old madman. Murderous roars kept coming out of his mouth. His main body, however, was lying inside without much movement. Whoosh! The scroll floated above the Jade archive. From the Jade archive, thick iron chains quickly condensed and pierced into the scroll, binding the old lunatic's entire body. A powerful devouring force immediately emanated from the chains, continuously absorbing pure energy from the old man's body. Strangely enough, there was no ordinary magic power in the old man's body, but pure power of the Great Tao. This power of the Great Tao wasn't like the unique power that other cultivators cultivated. It was a power of the Great Tao that didn't have a trace or imprint of another cultivator. 3,000 strands of the Great Tao circulated wildly in the old man's body. They intertwined together, making him almost indestructible. Even a ruler would find it difficult to kill such a freak. Moreover, the power of the Great Tao in the old man's body was connected to heaven and earth, connected to the chaos. This old man was equivalent to the incarnation of the Great Tao of heaven and earth. If a ruler wanted to kill the old man, it would be equivalent to fighting heaven and earth. No one would really do that. The consequences would be extremely serious. A shortcut. This was a supreme shortcut that allowed the demon court to become an immortal artifact. And it was a shortcut that no expert could replicate. Extracting the 3,000 strands of the Great Tao from the old man's body. To complete the 3,000 strands of the demon court. This had been proven to be feasible since the moment he refined the fragment of the divine bell of great divination. However, there is no doubt that this was an unconventional move. It was a shortcut that no one could replicate. If the old man wasn't in the virtual illusion and couldn't resist, allowing the Imperial Jade Archive to extract his Great Tao, if the demon court didn't cut off the connection between the Great Tao of heaven and earth and the old man, if the Imperial Jade Archive didn't have the miraculous ability of the Imperial Jade Archive, no one could extract the Great Tao from the old man's body, not even a ruler. Rumble. Pillars of the Great Tao formed one after another in the Imperial Jade Archive, but they didn't release the aura of the Great Tao. Instead, they were completely suppressed within the archive and couldn't be transmitted out for the time being. However, the demon court continued to shake and transform. This was the result of the ancient city's transformation after the 300 Khanate treasures had entered it. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian. Come. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1201. Those with tickets, please help me up. Quick, quick, quick. Put all the unnecessary items, discarded treasures, weapons, and ores into the 7 orifices exquisite flask to refine divine crystals. We need divine crystals now. We need a lot of divine crystals. We can't be a burden to His Majesty. In the future, the demon court will remember our contributions. Quick, no matter the cost. Use all the materials to refine divine crystals. Inside the smithing pavilion, the blacksmiths were shouting crazily as they poured all sorts of spiritual materials, ores, spirit ores, damaged treasures, artifacts, treasures, broken weapons, and so on into the 7 orifices kettle. They used a unique refining method to refine divine crystals one by one. Although there were still mountains of divine crystals in the forging pavilion's warehouse, none of the blacksmiths had any intention of relaxing in the face of the demon court's constant consumption of divine crystals to expand the ancient city. They continued to refine divine crystals. Although each piece was a low-grade divine crystal, they were all extremely precious. They were supreme treasures that could allow the ancient city to expand and expand continuously. Moreover, the flow of time in the forging pavilion was greatly reversed. It reached a horrifying 1 to 10,000. Back in the primordial battlefield, the demon court had accumulated raw materials from various regions and plundered from the land of exile for countless years. They were all used to refine divine crystals without hesitation. Apart from those precious and rare items, almost everything was sent into the exquisite flask. The only goal was to refine as many divine crystals as possible for the demon court to continuously transform and expand. Boom, boom. Massive amounts of divine crystals were swept into the demon court and integrated into the city. Once they were integrated, the essence of countless innate treasures and the Taoist rhymes of the 3,000 great Taoist rhymes surged in, transforming the low-grade divine crystals into supreme-grade divine crystals at an astonishing speed. It was exactly the same as the original city. Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, reverse time and space. 1 against 10,000. Absorb the great Taoist path. Perfect the great Taoist path and become immortal. Sakura didn't even think about it, as he once again shouted in his heart. Suddenly, the aura of time began to fill the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive. Although the old lunatic was trapped by the virtual illusory realm and lost in boundless desires, it wasn't too difficult for Huan and Gu Cheng to suppress him. However, the 3,000 great Daos in his body were too dense and mysterious. They were gathered together in an inexplicable way, making it extremely difficult to extract them. Compared to the situation they were facing now, there was a considerable risk. It was simply an unconventional move. Without reaching undying, anything could happen. On the spot, he reversed time without hesitation. Time was reversed to 1 to 10,000. Streams of pure origin of the great Tao flowed into the Imperial Jade Archive. Clang! As for the Paragon of Judgment, he was still coldly using his pagoda to smash against the myriad heavens samsara bell again and again. He wanted to shatter the bell into pieces. That pagoda was truly tyrannical. It was the life-bound treasure of the Paragon of Judgment. Under his nurturing, a total of 7 innate divine seals of judgment were formed. It was a powerful, high-grade, innate cardinal treasure. It was far more powerful than the bell of heaven cycles. Crack! Finally, after more than 100 collisions, a clear sound rang out and a terrifying crack appeared on the ancient bell. Monster Emperor, I'm going to destroy this bell of yours. The Paragon of Judgment shouted coldly. The pagoda exuded an even more powerful aura. It came crashing down on the ancient bell. You can't do anything to me, Judgment. Dishur Tian calmly spat out a sentence, sitting upright on the throne of the clouds. The bell of heaven's samsara bell, which had been tangling with the pagoda, turned into a streak of light and returned to the auspicious clouds above. He looked at the Paragon of Judgment with a solemn expression and said, Judgment, you are guilty. It was a sentence that could cut through metal. It was unusually firm and powerful. Even the Paragon of Judgment was stunned. His eyebrows twitched, and the muscles at the corner of his mouth twitched. His eyes burned with fury. Even the divine guards of judgment were dumbfounded. The Paragon of Judgment had always been in charge of judgment. He judged all living beings in the world. He had always been the one to judge other living beings and other cultivators. He was suppressed in the pagoda and imprisoned for eternity. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he would be judged guilty. Furthermore, he looked so serious when he said that. The stark contrast almost made the Paragon of Judgment laugh out of anger. You're courting death. The Paragon of Judgment's eyes shot out 2 rays of cold light. He gritted his teeth and said, Clang! His right hand had unknowingly appeared on the hilt of the Xianhuang ancient sword on his back. With a twist of his wrist, the Judgment Battle sword drew a perfect arc in the air and pierced straight towards the southern heaven gate. Boom! 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 The void under the sword seemed to shatter. A terrifying will, as if the heavens were angry, shot up into the sky from the sword. All the experts who saw the sword felt like they were mortals facing the wrath of the heavens. The feeling of helplessness spread in their hearts, and they felt like kneeling down and begging the heavens to appease their anger. All the unparalleled demon emperors felt fear in their hearts. Judgment Sword Codex, Heaven's Wrath. For a mortal to incur the wrath of the heavens, he must have committed a heinous crime. When the wrath of the heavens was unleashed, it would be earth-shattering. It would be like mountains collapsing, earthquakes, tsunamis, and blizzards in the mortal world. The power contained in the sword was unstoppable. It was like a punishment from the heavens. It carried the will of the paragon as it blasted towards the southern heaven gate. Heavenly coffin of sin. Sakura sat on the numinous sky throne and didn't move at all. With a shout, he launched a tyrannical attack at Judgment Sovereign. In an instant, the millions of mysterious runes in each of the Emperor's indestructible Emperor talismans in his body howled and rushed out in the direction of Di Shirtian's attack. They gathered together in the void and formed a pitch-black coffin at a speed visible to the naked eye. Countless terrifying cries flashed on the black coffin. It made people tremble in fear, as if there was an endless amount of evil contained within. All kinds of images of desires appeared on the surface of the black coffin. It blasted towards the paragon of judgment, as if it was real. There was an unimaginable evil aura in it. Just a whiff of it would cause one to be cursed on the spot. Come, you've sinned. You've sinned. Paragon of judgment. Can you have a clear conscience? You've sinned. Come, you'll be punished by your sins and become a part of them. On the heavenly coffin, there was a mysterious heavenly voice of evil reverberating and flashing. It was incomparably evil. It was tempting and filled with a chilling aura. The heavenly coffin of evil did not block the judgment battle sword. Instead, it blasted towards the paragon of judgment. What's that? The paragon of judgment's expression changed when he saw the heavenly coffin. He could feel an evil aura from the heavenly coffin that made his hair stand on end. A strong sense of danger flashed through his mind. He immediately shouted, "The paragon of judgment's pagoda is immune to all laws and evils." Ding, ding, ding. The mysterious yellow pagoda appeared above his head. Strands of pure, mysterious yellow chi flowed down from the pagoda. It was filled with a strange power. It seemed to be a kind of rich power of virtue. In the blink of an eye, it completely enveloped the paragon of judgment and protected him. The paragon of judgment did not care about the southern heaven gate. With a twist of his wrist, the paragon of judgment swung his sword and slashed towards the heavenly coffin. Rumble! The heavenly coffin of evil landed heavily on the yellow chi surrounding the paragon of judgment. The heavenly coffin contained a domineering power. The heavenly coffin of evil trembled violently. The lid of the heavenly coffin of evil opened up a small gap, and streams of black chi swept towards the heavenly coffin of evil. When the two collided, there was a terrifying chi-chi sound. Every stream of black chi seemed to be filled with the roars of countless demons. The heavenly coffin of evil engulfed the heavenly coffin of evil and melted with the heavenly coffin of evil. However, one could clearly see that the heavenly coffin of evil was being corroded by the black chi. It was slowly turning black. It was emitting traces of evil aura. All kinds of curses turned into cursed gods who were laughing maliciously. Some of the heavenly coffin of evil was even petrified and frozen. It was extremely terrifying. Crack! The judgment battle sword with the wrath of the heavens landed on the heavenly coffin of evil. The destructive power shattered the heavenly coffin of evil. However, at the same time, the heavenly coffin of evil turned into millions of mysterious curses. They fluttered in the sky and covered the paragon of judgment in the boundless curses. Countless curses attacked the pagoda in a frenzy, trying to enter the paragon of judgment's body. They wanted to make him fall into the boundless evil and be devoured by the heavenly coffin of evil. All the unparalleled demon emperors and divine guards of judgment witnessed this scene. Their faces turned green and pale, and their eyes were filled with horror. Curses. They're all curses. How can there be so many of them? How many types? How many types are there? Every single one of them gives me a feeling of extreme danger. Terrifying. This is too terrifying. Curses have always been created by the mysterious cursementers. How could the Shifter Emperor have such a terrifying trump card hidden in his hand? The heavenly coffin formed by countless curses is too terrifying. The Shifter Emperor can really contend with the primordial supremes. The surrounding cultivators, whether they were demons or other cultivators, were stunned. They couldn't believe their eyes. Darkness, light, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and use the heavenly light and darkness canopy. This Shifter Emperor is too great a threat to us. If we can't get rid of him this time, the Supreme Divine Realm will be in great trouble. We must not let the Shifter Emperor promote the Demon Court to an immortal artifact. The Paragon of Judgment suddenly took out a mysterious ancient bead, hung it above his head, and roared at the void. Heavenly light and darkness canopy, eternal boundary. In the void, two dignified shouts immediately rang out. It's too late to restrain this emperor now. Demon Court, 3,000 great Daos, promote to the immortal realm. Tion suddenly stood up and spat out a sentence loudly. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1202. Let's celebrate the Demon Court's promotion to the immortal realm. Brothers, if you have tickets, please help us. Without the monthly tickets and recommendation tickets, the Great Path Celestial Pillar is not confident enough. Rumble. In the void, the world suddenly turned pitch black. A pitch-black sun appeared out of nowhere and appeared in the sky above the battlefield. At the same time, a white sun that emitted endless light rose rapidly, competing with the black sun to release dazzling divine light. In an instant, the world was covered by a canopy. The left side of the canopy was pitch black, while the right side was as bright as day. They intertwined with each other, and the two extremes of power inexplicably condensed together. The black sun and the white sun collided, and the void distorted, shooting out black and white divine light. In the divine light, a huge black and white Tai Chi diagram formed. The black sun and the white sun became the black and white fish eyes in the Tai Chi diagram. The entire sky canopy was actually a huge black and white Tai Chi diagram. It was upside down and completely enveloped the entire battlefield. It constantly rotated, driving the power of the world and the surroundings into the sky canopy. It caused the sky canopy to become more resilient and powerful at an astonishing rate at every moment. The intense power of darkness and light kept colliding. Every time they collided, they formed a unique power that surged into the canopy, causing the canopy to faintly condense into a crystal wall. At the same time, a slender woman with a pair of eyes like black stars, wearing a long black dress, stood in the canopy. The other was an old man in his 40s or 50s. He wore a snow-white robe and exuded a strong aura of light. He held a scepter in his hand, and his face was as gentle as a spring breeze. Vaguely, all the evil in the world would vanish on the spot in front of it, turning into nothingness. It represented infinite light. As soon as they appeared, they were two terrifying extremes. However, when they combined their powers, they could unleash a terrifying destructive power that was dozens of times stronger. The moment they appeared, they had already sealed off the entire battlefield. Their actions were obviously to prevent a surprise attack from the mysterious man who had attacked Judgment Supremacy. They were certain that even the mysterious man who had attacked Judgment Supremacy wouldn't be able to break through the Yin-Yang Taiji sky screen easily. He might even be trapped inside. However, at this moment, Tion suddenly stood up. He let out a battle cry filled with fighting spirit. Undying, leveling up to undying. Inside the Jade Archive, the power of the 3,000 great Daos was continuously extracted from Crazy Old's body. Pillars of great Tao stood erect in the archive, and the strands of connate purple chi in the archive had been thoroughly integrated into the 3,000 great Taos. Countless mysterious Tao runes were interwoven on the jade archive, and a great number of great Tao proverbs were flashing all the time. For a moment, everything was natural. It had reached an inconceivable level. Under D. Shur Tion's roar. Suddenly, the pillars of the Great Path that had been suppressed erupted with a strong aura of the Great Path. Countless mysterious patterns of the Great Path quickly appeared on every inch of the city. On the Jade Archive, a strong immortal aura spread out and quickly spread throughout the entire ancient city. Boom, boom, boom. The entire demon court shook violently. Hundreds of millions of divine lights radiated from the ancient city, but they didn't spread out. Instead, they intertwined on the surface of the ancient city, turning into strands of silk that entangled with each other. They vaguely formed a huge divine cocoon that enveloped the entire ancient city. Vast spiritual chi of heaven and earth poured into the divine cocoon like a tide. In particular, the rich treasure chi of this level of the Tower of Babel kept pouring in. It was like a young swallow returning to its nest. On the divine cocoon, mysterious Tao runes flashed one after another. Countless fairies danced around the divine cocoon, and waves of mysterious heavenly music reverberated. Countless mysterious Tao runes kept emerging, and powerful cultivation methods flashed across the divine cocoon. Countless creatures worshipped and sang praises to the divine cocoon. They were unusually pious. Dragons, phoenixes, cheilants, black tortoises, vermilion birds, and so on. Countless divine beasts of the heavens kept appearing on the cocoon. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. How could the Shifter Emperor have so many innate divine objects? He hasn't been in the Tower of Babel for long. Outside the tower, there were only a few hundred. When we trapped him, there were only a little more than 1,000. It's impossible for him to condense 3,000. Did he force his way to the immortal realm? Failure. He must have failed. There's no way the demon court could become an immortal artifact. The Reverend Heaven Patriarch murmured in disbelief. He couldn't believe it. The Shifter Emperor was trapped here and didn't have the opportunity to plunder the countless beasts in the tower. How could he suddenly obtain so many innate divine objects, complete the 3,000 great paths, and condense the pillars of the great path? This was simply impossible. He couldn't believe it no matter what. Could it be that the Shifter Emperor has already collected so many innate divine objects for the demon court to complete the great paths? He waited until now to take them all out to confuse us and lure us here to achieve his goal of killing so many of us in one fell swoop? The Bloody Blade demon's eyes were also filled with disbelief. My lords, what should we do now? Why don't we attack the demon court with all our strength and make it fail to become an immortal and collapse the ancient city? Otherwise, the Shifter Emperor's arrogant demonic flame will become even more terrifying once he ascends. He can even resist the Paragon of Judgment for a short period of time. If he's alive, he'll be a great threat to our demon god continent. A demon emperor's face revealed a ruthless expression as he suggested coldly. What a good Shifter Emperor. He actually hid such a trick. Could it be that he really didn't condense the 3,000 pillars of the Great Path before forcefully transforming? If that's the case, with the accumulation of the ancient city, it's not impossible for him to fail. Unfortunately, once a supreme divine artifact ascends, any attack that doesn't shatter it will be devoured and turned into assistance for the ascension. This kind of ascension can't be interrupted. It's protected by the laws of heaven and earth. No one can reverse it. I didn't expect that a foolproof plan would have a problem here. The radiant God King, one of the 9 primordial sovereigns, looked at the enormous divine cocoon with a solemn expression. Vaguely, he had a bad feeling in the bottom of his heart. Boom, boom. During the ascension of the soaring firmament demon court, no expert was able to see the true scene. Only those who were in the city could feel the inconceivable and shocking transformation. At this moment, in the ancient city, except for the peerless existences, all the demon race and cultivators couldn't move at all. It was as if they were immobilized. All of them could only watch but couldn't move. They couldn't even speak. They could only look at the transformation taking place in the ancient city with a horrified expression. Rumble. The moment the demon court ascended, a vast starry sky appeared in the void above the demon court. Under the starry sky, there was a boundless clear air. This clear air was like a complete snow-white, auspicious cloud with an inexplicable charm. With a boom, the entire starry sky and the clear sky descended inch by inch. It seemed to merge with the earth of the ancient city and return to chaos and nothingness. Lunatic D, I've heard of this before. In ancient times, experts entered the chaos to observe the supreme, divine domain's ascension to the immortal level divine artifact. This is what one must experience when ascending to the immortal level. It's called the return of heaven and earth. Once the clear sky and earth merge, the ascension will be considered a complete failure. One must use the great Tao pillar to support the clear sky and the starry sky. The indomitable spirit. The sky is high and the earth is deep and the stars are stable. Only then will there be signs of ascension to the immortal level. At this moment, Ming didn't have the slightest bit of humor on his face. He was unusually cautious and revealed everything he knew without hesitation. He hoped that it would be of help to Di Shirtian. Before ascending to the immortal level, although the demon court was isolated from the outside world and was an independent world, the outside world still had the ability to influence the heaven and earth in the city and prevent the return of heaven and earth from happening. However, once ascending to the immortal level, it meant that one had truly begun to walk on the path of independence and the unique supreme great Tao. The supreme divine artifact still belonged to the purple gold continent and the demon god continent. However, the immortal level divine artifact needed to support a world on its own. Ascending to the immortal level was definitely not easy. 3,000 great Tao, indomitable spirit. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Di Shirtian shouted calmly. In each area of the demon court, pillars that reached the heavens and the earth emerged from the ground out of thin air and quickly soared into the sky. Each pillar carried an inconceivable charm of the great Tao. Each pillar was unusually thick and strong. Although they seemed a little illusory, there were unique Tao patterns on their surfaces, and heavenly sounds reverberated from time to time. Rumble. 3,000 pillars of the great Tao were evenly distributed in each area. At the same time, they collided with the vast clear sky. Immediately, the clear sky and the starry sky shook violently. An incomparably heavy pressure spread from the clear sky and exerted itself on the 3,000 pillars of the great Tao. Vaguely, it seemed like the pillars were going to be crushed directly. Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, devour the chaos, absorb the great Tao, indomitable spirit, and achieve immortality. The Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive spun at an astonishing speed. Every moment, more than 3,000 primordial chaos chi were swept into the ancient city and poured into the 3,000 pillars of the great Tao. At the same time, they were constantly absorbing the essence of the great Tao from Crazy Old's body and pouring it in, causing the pillars to constantly condense and become more simple and unadorned every blink of an eye. The demon court's accumulation was really too deep. For example, the vast starry sky had evolved from the integration of a supreme divine artifact, the heavenly cycle star map. Just this point alone would cause an ordinary pillar to be crushed on the spot by the heavy force. However, Di Shirtian's 3,000 great Tao supported the clear sky with the most balanced array. At the same time, the great Tao that was constantly extracted from Crazy Old's body made the pillars more tenacious and stable. Boom, boom, boom. With just a slight shake, the 3,000 pillars immediately grew upward at the same time. They kept growing and lengthening. Every inch they grew, the clear sky was an inch higher. Every inch they rose, the world was a foot wider. At the same time, the ancient city was crazily expanding at an astonishing speed. It was as if it was the beginning of the world. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1203. Chidian is going to set up an annual review. Every reader will get 2 free tickets. Those who feel that drifting still has the professional integrity of an author this year, throw in 2 tickets. We won't fight for it, but I want to see how many people are silently supporting it. They watched as the 3,000 pillars of the Great Path stood between heaven and earth, separating the heaven and earth that were about to close up above their heads. They kept pushing the clear sky and the starry sky back inch by inch. The sky was 1 foot higher, and the earth was 1 foot thicker. Vast chaotic chi poured into the demon court. As the demon court continued to expand and grow, the divine crystal palace began to transform. On the ground, all the divine crystals were transforming. They became the same as the earth, revealing a unique charm that could carry all things in the world. Above the divine crystals, grains of soil that looked like sand were slowly growing. They quickly gathered together, condensing into thick layers of soil and earth. However, the buildings in the ancient city were not damaged at all. They were still perfectly connected to the city. The soil that was derived had all kinds of innate auras. At the same time, huge divine dragons constantly condensed and emerged from all the divine crystal cities. They burrowed into the entire demon court. Every single one of them was abnormally large. They were millions of feet long, tens of millions of feet long, or even billions of feet long. They were like true dragons that had their own intelligence and wills. They were constantly distributed in various areas. Wherever they went, the chi of heaven and earth in that area became extremely rich and abnormally pure. There were a total of 3,000 of them. They could be said to be the ancestors of all dragons. Each of them exuded a supreme aura. It was as if the Tao of heaven was constantly being nurtured and derived. It seemed that each dragon was formed by countless mysterious talismans. They were abnormally mysterious. There were also a large number of tiger-shaped, crane-shaped, python-shaped, and so on. They were densely distributed in all the areas of the demon court. It caused all kinds of changes in the terrain where they were located. Majestic mountains rose from the ground one after another. Some were like dragons, some were like tigers, and so on. They were strange and had a unique aura. Good. This was one of the signs of breaking through to the immortal level. Spirit veins were naturally born. Moreover, in the main city of the demon court, the lowest level of spirit veins was Saint Veins. There were many heavenly veins, and there were even 9 supreme god veins. It was rumored that even in the sovereign divine realm, there were only 5 sovereign divine veins that were born after the sovereign divine realm was promoted. There are actually 9 of them here. Cultivating here will allow one to advance at an unimaginable speed. Ming exclaimed loudly as she secretly clicked her tongue. Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, Black Tortoise, Phoenix, Qilin, Golden Crow, Kuan Peng, and Kueox. It was indeed miraculous. Cultivating on the sovereign divine range would allow even a peerless expert to advance by leaps and bounds. Just the sovereign divine range alone was enough to make a peerless expert go wild with joy. The Paragon Divine Bloodline was a type of paramount divine bloodline that would tempt even the Sovereign Lord. 9 sovereign divine veins, 3,000 heavenly veins, and 129,600 saint veins. It's hard for us monsters not to prosper. Di Shirtion nodded inwardly as he witnessed this scene. He was overjoyed. He was also secretly impressed by the birth of these spiritual veins. No wonder there was such a huge gap between sovereign divine artifacts and immortal divine artifacts. Just this alone was already immeasurable. Boom, boom, boom. The Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive was constantly devouring a huge amount of chaotic chi from the primal chaos and absorbing a large amount of the 3,000 Great Tao origins from Crazy Old's body to replenish the heavenly pillars. For a time, the power of the 3,000 heavenly pillars was almost limitless. Inch by inch, it steadily supported the clear sky pillars. At the same time, the ancient city was also rapidly expanding. It was constantly approaching the size of the purple gold land. At the same time, as the ancient city was undergoing drastic changes, waves of mysterious energy were pouring into the 129,600 spaces in the ancient city through the well of gods and devils. They were also constantly expanding. At the same time, the void of each space was giving birth to pieces of tough crystal walls. They were constantly transforming into planes. Now, these spaces could no longer be called spaces. They should be called planes. They were independent worlds. Just like the myriad worlds in the origin world, these planes were giving birth to strange world origins. It could be seen that during the advancement, in the countless planes, large amounts of strange flowers and plants were growing out of thin air. Every plane was different, but they were unusually complete. The Earth was undergoing a strange transformation. Boom, boom. During the advancement, no one knew how long it took. They only knew that the 3,000 heavenly pillars of the Great Path were constantly growing. The sky and earth were getting taller and thicker. In the blink of an eye, the clear sky pillars had reached a height that was difficult to see with the naked eye. The powerful pressure that appeared on the heavenly pillars every moment disappeared without warning. Vaguely, the clear sky disappeared. The vast starry sky appeared before everyone's eyes. Bits of starlight sprinkled on every monster. It was abnormally bright and dazzling. Whoosh! Immediately after, a purple rain fell from the sky. It fluttered and fell on every living creature. It was like a gift from the heavens. When it fell on all the monsters and cultivators, it could be clearly seen that many cultivators had broken through a realm out of thin air. When they broke through, there was no heavenly tribulation. Moreover, their foundations were stable. At this moment, all the bottlenecks disappeared completely, blessing all living creatures. This is one of the signs of advancing to the immortal realm. Dark exclaimed again, overjoyed. In the process of advancing to the immortal realm, any living creature in the demon court would be blessed by the heavens and earth. All living creatures' aptitude and comprehension would be greatly improved. It was extremely crucial for their future cultivation. Tion could clearly sense that at this moment, there were billions of newborn monsters in the demon court. Moreover, all of them had extraordinary potential. At every moment, there were huge changes in the demon court. Outside, the dark goddess, the god of light, and the paragon of judgment, who had finally gotten rid of the heavenly coffin of sin, looked at the divine cocoon in front of them with unsightly expressions. But they didn't dare to move at all. Rumble. At this moment, when the Ling Shao demon court leveled up, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the chaos, and a vortex appeared. On the other side of the vortex was a vast and boundless world of purple chi, like the world of primordial chaos. Inside the vortex, strands of violet energy floated in the air. Suddenly, the thickest strand of violet energy moved. Thick strands of purple smoke flickered as they drilled into the vortex. One by one, they entered the vortex. A total of 49 strands entered before the vortex closed. In the blink of an eye, the 49 strands of purple gas appeared in the sky split tower. A vortex appeared in the air above the divine cocoon. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 49 strands of violet energy flew out of the vortex, landed on the divine cocoon, and fused with it. 1 strand, 2 strands, 3 strands. 49 strands? How can there be 49? When we advanced to the Paragon God realm, there were only 31 strands of violet energy. Could it be that the demon court has such incredible potential? When Judgment King saw the purple air enter the cocoon, his face turned pale. He stared at the giant god cocoon in disbelief. How could paragons like him not know how important the violet energy was? 49 strands of violet energy was a terrifying number. As soon as the violet energy entered the divine cocoon, it appeared in the demon court, then entered the imperial jade archive. In the blink of an eye, the jade archive seemed to enter an inconceivable state of perfection. Countless runes of the Tao appeared, and countless great Taos collided with each other within the jade archive, giving rise to the most fundamental of Tao. It was almost as if there was a god within the jade archive, preaching about the great Tao. The jade archive naturally exuded a kind of pressure. It was a pressure that surpassed the primal chaos of heaven and earth. A powerful, deathless aura spread through the entire ancient city. The Jade Archive couldn't be described in terms of rank, but Tion could sense that not even the Sovereign Lord would be able to destroy it. At every moment, great Taos were being born inside of it. Rumble. In the virtual land, the old crazy man, who was bound by countless iron chains, exploded strangely at the same time as the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive transformed, and his body shattered into pieces. His body shattered into millions upon millions of pieces. Then, in the blink of an eye, the pieces of flesh and blood converged on the Imperial Jade Archive. A mysterious purple divine flame was born from the Jade Archive. It began to rapidly refine the pieces of flesh and blood. The flesh and blood melted like divine metal, and in the blink of an eye, they took the shape of an enormous violet eye. Boundless heavenly might flickered within the eye, and countless magical laws of the great Tao flowed through it. It blinked and seemed incredibly intelligent and cold, almost as if it were alive. As soon as the violet eye appeared, it pierced through the air and appeared in the middle of the demon court. It was incredibly large. Even the pupil could be seen clearly. It stared at all living beings indifferently. Wherever he looked, all of the demons and cultivators felt an urge to prostrate themselves in worship, and fear. The eye of the heavenly Tao. Sky Silkworm looked at the violet eye in the void in horror. It was a sight that even he felt pressured by. He opened his mouth and spat out a sentence in shock. Whoosh! Under the appearance of the eye of the heavenly Tao, he immediately saw that the void seemed to be transparent, and different scenes appeared. Incomparably tough iron chains appeared out of thin air and quickly intertwined, weaving a vast and boundless net in the sky and on the ground. Each iron chain was a chain of law derived from the 3,000 great Taos. As the saying goes, the net of heaven has long arms, but it never escapes. Once this net of law was formed, it meant that the entire demon court would be shrouded in the laws of heaven and earth. There would be laws and regulations. Anything that went against the heavenly Tao and the laws would be recorded by the eye of the heavenly Tao. Once the bottom line was crossed, heavenly punishment would descend. Heavenly tribulation would descend. Going against the iron laws of heaven and earth, the heavenly tribulation would be even more powerful and terrifying when one broke through the tribulation. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to Kamachidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1204. The starting point is to come up with an annual evaluation. Every reader will also get 2 free tickets. Brothers who feel that drifting still has the professional integrity of an author this year, throw in 2 votes. We won't compete, but I want to see how many brothers are silently supporting him. And every life that was scanned by the eye of the heavenly Tao would naturally have a unique life mark that belonged to the demon court in their bodies. It was a mark that was recognized by the demon court. The net of laws covered the entire demon court. The starry sky, the void, the earth, all the plains, everything was covered under the net of laws. At the same time, the various treasures that were originally integrated into the demon court, such as the 4 directions heavenly gates, the heavenly cycle star map, the stairway to heaven, and so on, were no longer flawed. They were perfectly integrated with the ancient city, becoming an inseparable whole. No power could separate them. They were truly one. An immortal and indestructible aura constantly reverberated within the ancient city. And within the ancient city, a gigantic tier 13 black lotus appearing in the core space. Within this black lotus, there was a boundless might. The moment it appeared, it perfectly fused together with the Imperial Jade Archive, becoming one. It was the divine clone from back then. In an instant, the connection between D. Shurtion and the Demon Court was so close and clear that it couldn't be any clearer. Unless the ultimate Emperor's Jade Archive was destroyed, there was no power that could separate it from this ancient city. Once the Jade Archive was destroyed, the Demon Court was naturally destroyed as well. The core was the Jade Archive. Rumble. At the same time, in the Ultimate Emperor Jade Archive, the flesh and blood of the crazy old man was completely condensed into an eye of the Heavenly Tao by the Jade Archive, controlling the laws of the Heavenly Tao. However, his two eyes weren't refined. Instead, they directly rose and appeared in the void of the Demon Court. His left eye, under a mysterious power, turned into a huge golden sun star. This sun star was exceptionally huge. It was even bigger than the ancient star. It stood in the starry sky, emitting a blazing aura. Surging golden, true sun fire roared and enveloped the entire star. It exuded an aura of the purest yang. The other one, under the influence of an invisible and mysterious power, transformed into a huge snow-white lunar star at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was covered in ice and exuded endless power of the lunar star. Even the ancient demon gods would feel unusually cold if they went up against it. In an instant, the sun and moon were destroyed at the same time. Compared to them, the original sun and moon were simply dwarfed by them. There was no comparison at all. Haha, Your Majesty, the divine crow will help you perfect the demon court. The hibiscus divine tree has taken root in the sun. Tao Lord Divine Crow's eyes lit up when he saw that. He waved his hand, and a vast Fusang pure wood appeared instantly. It turned into a stream of light and rushed into the sun star like a swallow returning to its nest. As soon as it entered, it took root on the ancient planet. The leaves drifted in the wind, emitting a cheerful aura. Golden Crow, it's time for you to come into being. It's time for the Golden Crow clan to fulfill your duty and shine upon all living beings for the prosperity of our demon race. Continue the supreme glory of your race. Whoosh! When Di Shurtion saw that, a golden crow egg appeared out of thin air with a flash of light in his hand. With a wave of his arm, the golden crow egg immediately flew toward the sun star and landed on the hibiscus tree. With a crack, the golden crow egg immediately cracked. How? A three-legged golden crow with 3 legs broke out of its shell in the true sunfire. It emitted a noble golden light and let out a cheerful crow cry. A golden sun rose on the hibiscus tree. Endless true sun fire surged into the golden crow's body. At every moment, his aura was growing rapidly. He had the aura of a royal family. Demon Emperor, how can I miss such a grand event? Back then, I obtained the osmanthus tree. Today is the time to find the real thing. At this moment, in the ancient city, a cold voice sounded. A huge laurel tree appeared out of thin air and landed on the lunar star. And on the laurel tree, a snow-white moon god bird was dancing gracefully, letting out the most beautiful song. It was as if a full moon had risen into the sky. A palace was also located on the moon star. The cloud-gathering banner. Indra watched as another snow-white ancient banner was sent into the ancient city. It was rapidly devoured by the Emperor Realm's Jade Archive. Immediately, in the air, auspicious clouds appeared. What was the meaning of this? It was a beautiful sight. The entire demon court gradually stopped expanding. However, the size of the entire demon court had reached an unimaginable level. Almost no one could calculate how many living beings and cultivators it could accommodate. Whoosh! At the same time, the huge eye of the heavenly Tao appeared above Di Shurtion's head. A ray of purple divine light instantly fell from the eye of the heavenly Tao and enveloped Di Shurtion's entire emperor body. the moment it enveloped Di Shirtion. Immediately, the boundless power of creation at the beginning of the world flowed through the pores of Di Shirtion's entire body and madly drilled into his emperor body. Haha, this is the feedback of a divine artifact. The feedback of a divine artifact. Crazy D, your cultivation level is lower than the demon courts. At this moment of advancement, you are completely one with the ancient city. The demon court is feeding you power and helping you increase your cultivation level. This is the biggest advantage of you, Crazy D. No one can compete with you. When Ming saw this, he was not afraid at all and laughed wildly. Boom, boom. At this moment, the power accumulated in the demon court was too great. The power that was fed back to Di Shirtion was the purest power of creation. It continuously surged into his body. The rich aura of creation seemed to have cleansed every inch of his flesh and blood. All impurities were removed. Tempering. He wanted to enter all the imperial indestructible emperor talismans around him to increase his cultivation level. However, after the emperor's body was cleansed, all of the power of creation was swept into each of the emperor's true apertures at the same time. Boundless power flowed endlessly. At every moment, there was a majestic power entering the aperture. This kind of infusion could raise an ordinary cultivator to the level of an ancient heavenly demon or even an ancient demon god in almost every breath. It was too great, but the aperture was like a bottomless pit. It was constantly devouring all the power of creation. It was poured into the aperture. Good, good, good. Since you want to devour, I'll let you devour as much as you want. Di Shirtion felt the changes in his body. He was not surprised, but he was also a little surprised. Under this kind of infusion, he finally felt that the bottomless pit seemed to be slowly filling up. He could clearly feel that there was a limit to how much the aperture could hold. At this moment, it was slowly filling up. Boom, boom. This kind of reverse nurturing lasted for a full 15 minutes. When the divine light dissipated, Di Shirtion's lips curled into a faint smile. What divine artifacts feedback? It actually filled up 90% of my aperture. Good, there's only a 10% gap. It might not be able to stop me for long. I hope you can give me a big surprise when the time comes. Di Shirtion took a deep breath. The look in his eyes was unusually deep. It's a pity that the divine artifact's feedback did not fill up the Zaxi aperture in your body. Otherwise, you would definitely be able to break through to the sovereign realm. Ming said with some regret. Outside the divine cocoon, countless fairies danced around the divine cocoon. Golden flowers fell from the sky, and images of countless fiend gods appeared on it. The sound of the great Tao echoed. Vaguely, this divine cocoon was an inconceivable treasure. No one knew how much time had passed. The entire divine cocoon suddenly became transparent and merged with the heaven and earth crystal wall of the demon court. Rumble. The demon court, which was originally covered in the divine cocoon, once again appeared in the eyes of the three primordial supremes and many demon emperors. The moment they saw it, a majestic pressure almost directly pounced on them. A large number of demon emperors felt as if there was an invisible force on them that wanted to crush them to the ground and make them kneel down. A feeling of powerlessness grew in their hearts. Auspicious clouds appeared around the ancient city. Within the auspicious clouds, the southern heavenly gate was faintly discernible. It breathed in a supreme aura and emitted an immortal aura. Just by standing there, he was like an invincible god. Compared to before the transformation, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was impossible to peek into the situation inside with any means. No great Tao from the outside world could penetrate it. It was truly an independent world that seemed to be formed naturally. Even the primordial supremes were faintly at a disadvantage and felt oppressed. High-grade immortal divine artifact. The dark goddess' starry eyes flashed with a strange light. She gently moved her red lips and slowly uttered a sentence. What a demon emperor. He actually has such a powerful accumulation. He weaved a net of law inside and condensed the rules. He obtained 49 strands of primordial purple vapor and became a high-grade immortal divine artifact as soon as it was upgraded. It's on par with my Supreme God Realm. It took a long time for my Supreme God Realm to upgrade it, but the Demon Court evened it out in an instant. What a Demon Emperor! The Radiant God King took a deep breath and let out a long sigh. High-grade immortal divine artifact was a miracle created by Di Shurtian's 3,000 pillars of the Great Tao and his enormous accumulation. It was a high-grade immortal divine artifact as soon as it was upgraded. It was truly unbelievable. Demon Emperor, Paragon of Judgment, gritted his teeth as he spat out these words. Almost everyone who heard him could feel the bone-deep anger in his voice. His eyes were fixed on Di Shurtian as if they were about to spit fire. Judgment. Di Shurtian sat on the throne. Behind him, Sky Silkworm, Huang Quan, Blissful Boy, Xie Sanyang, and Gord Luzi all stood in an orderly manner. The moment the Demon Court upgraded, countless cultivators broke through. The ones who benefited the most were those who were at the peak of ancient heavenly demons and were about to break through to the ancient demon god realm. They broke through to the ancient demon god realm almost without suffering a karmic tribulation. It increased the strength of the Demon Court by a large margin. The ones who upgraded were Blissful Boy, Xie Sanyang, Gord Luzi, Shun Gongbao, Qing Yun, Lan Yu Katomi, Azura Kill, Shueshur, Emperor Assassin, Kong Wu, Peacock, and Dan Wang. A total of 13 ancient demon gods were upgraded at the same time. They were like bamboo shoots after spring rain. The strength of the Demon Court instantly increased. How dare you say you want to kill me today? I've already said that if you want to fight, I've never been afraid. There was none in the past, and there is none now. Sakura proudly spat out a cold sentence to the Supreme Trial Senior. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1205. Don't be so arrogant, Yao Emperor. So what if you've made the Demon Court immortal? That doesn't mean you're invincible. We primeval sovereigns can still restrain you. Now that we have darkness, light, and judgment here, don't think you can be so arrogant with a divine artifact. Judgment's expression was so cold that it could freeze the void. He couldn't hide the anger and hatred that came from the bottom of his heart. It was clear as day. He said coldly, "Darkness, light, you and I, the three of us, join hands and take this immortal grade weapon. We'll control it. This will be the second Paragon domain. No rush." The Radiant God King smiled faintly in the face of Judgment's eagerness to make a move on Di Shurtian. He stroked the scepter of light in his hand and said slowly, "Yao Emperor, are you willing to join us primeval god fiends? If you are, you can choose any of the countless benefits and treasures in our sovereign divine domain. They can help you ascend to the sovereign realm as quickly as possible. Endless beauties can accompany you and enjoy the same status and treatment as us primeval sovereigns. However, the Demon Court must belong to us primeval god fiends." The lukewarm words entered Di Shurtian's ears. Not to mention Di Shurtian, even Tian Can, Huang Quan, Shueshur, and the others by his side revealed a cold smile when they heard the meaning of those words. Did the Radiant God King really think the monster spirits were a bunch of fools? "I am willing to become Tao companions with your majesty and be of one heart forever." The Dark Goddess, who was dressed in a black dress and exuded boundless temptation, blinked her eyes and said something that shocked all the cultivators present. Who was the Dark Goddess? In terms of looks and figure, she wasn't the slightest bit inferior to Chun Shi. She was also one of the primeval sovereigns who stood at the peak of the chaos. To have such a woman willing to submit herself to him was like having a golden pancake smashed into his head. Who knew how many experts who preferred beauties over power would be willing to chase after her like a flock of ducks? The temptation was extraordinarily great, not only in terms of status, but also in terms of the psychological sense of conquest. Wildflowers don't smell as good as home. Di Shurtian sat on the throne with a disdainful look on his face. he said decisively. Becoming a ruler? What this emperor needs is the sense of accomplishment from ascension, not humiliation. How could the path of a sovereign block my path? This is the enmity between me and the judgment court. No matter how noble your status is, if you dare to interfere, you will be making an enemy out of me, the sovereign god emperor. In the future, I will definitely go to the sovereign god realm and smash your sovereign god realm to smithereens. Then he turned to look at the paragon of judgment and barked, "Judgment, take my heavenly coffin of sin. Kill." Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw a punch at the paragon of judgment. The 129,600 indestructible emperor talismans around him were filled with terrifying runes, and they formed small heavenly coffins of sin. As his flesh and blood flowed into his arm, all of the heavenly coffins of sin converged together, transforming into an enormous black coffin filled with heinous sins that suddenly appeared in the air. The countless runes on the heavenly coffin of sin fused together to form numerous emissaries of sin. As soon as the heavenly coffin of sin appeared, it exuded an aura that suppressed the heavens. Its aura was so strong that it didn't pale in comparison to any of the primordial sovereigns. It charged at the paragon of judgment in a domineering manner. The aura of the heavenly coffin of sin was enough to make even sovereigns tremble in fear. Be careful. The sovereign god emperor has probably obtained the inheritance of those cursemasters. This heavenly coffin of sin has the terrifying evil power to bury sovereigns. The dark goddess expression changed. She could clearly sense a shocking evil energy from the heavenly coffin. It was as if it was trying to drag her entire will into the boundless sin and curse. Sovereign god emperor, do you really think this heavenly coffin of yours can stop me? Dream on. Watch me break you. Divine eye of judgment, judge all living beings. The paragon of judgment gritted his teeth when he saw the heavenly coffin of sin. The first time he encountered it, he was so flustered that he almost made a fool of himself. Now that he saw it again, he was even more enraged. His yellow robes fluttered without wind, and a crack appeared on his forehead, revealing a yellow vertical eye. In this divine eye of judgment, a strong will of judgment flowed continuously. His words were the truth, the will of the heavens. Whoosh! Looking at the heavenly coffin of sin, the paragon of sin didn't dodge. Instead, a yellow divine light of judgment shot out from the divine eye of judgment. It shot straight at the heavenly coffin of sin. Within the light, a mysterious judgment platform appeared, upon which were 3 scythes. They were the Python scythe, the Flood Dragon scythe, and the Ancestral Dragon scythe. The 3 scythes radiated blood-red, killing intent, and on the platform was a golden sword of judgment, as well as a bronze scythe that had been cut off at the tip. It was a decapitation scythe. Chains of judgment danced in the air above the high platform. Rumble! The divine light and the evil, sin heavenly coffin collided. This attack could be said to be the true strength of the judgment heavenly coffin. The supreme battle strength of the ancient supremes erupted on the spot. The domineering heavenly coffin of sin, which had been brimming with a wretched aura, began to tremble violently. The heavenly coffin of sin opened, and the heavenly coffin of sin was pushed back. We are the messengers of desire. We are the incarnations of sin. We are the fiend devils who walk the earth. Countless devilish voices echoed out from within the heavenly coffin. The instant the coffins opened, the emissaries of sin rushed out of the black coffins with scythes in their hands. They dashed toward the divine light of judgment and swung their scythes, shattering the divine light of judgment's will. Some of the emissaries of sin were destroyed by the light, transforming into dim cursed seals that returned to the coffin. All sins shall be judged. On the judgment platform, the golden judgment sword shook violently. Hundreds of millions of judgment sword lights swept toward the emissaries of sin like a tide. Fierce clashes ensued. Some of the emissaries of sin were killed, while others were frozen, petrified, or imprisoned. Both sides won and lost. Crack! 3 guillotines descended, and 3 guillotine lights swept through the area. Countless sinful emissaries were killed, and with a swing of the guillotine, countless heads were sent flying. However, there seemed to be no end to the emissaries of sin. The divine light of judgment and the heavenly coffin of sin were locked in a stalemate. One impressive Yao Emperor. He's only a half-step sovereign lord, yet he's already capable of fighting on par with paragons of Archean age. Thankfully, despite the heavenly coffin of sin's bizarre nature, we'll still be able to stop it. The radiant God King's expression was grave, and he was now certain that Di Shurtian truly did have the strength and status to stand on equal footing with them. He was no weakling. The heavenly coffin of sin was simply too terrifying. Seeing that Paragon of Judgment was able to stop the heavenly coffin of sin, they didn't immediately attack. Instead, they decided to wait and see. Not a single one of the most powerful experts in the world could stop the heavenly coffin of sin. Even among half-step sovereigns, it was virtually invincible. It was simply too terrifying. Shen Gongbao, seeing the supreme trial and the heavenly coffin of sin in a fierce stalemate, with no clear winner or loser, Sakura's expression remained unchanged, and he calmly called out, "Understood, Shen Gongbao." When Shen Gongbao heard the call, he still wore that sage-like, gentle smile on his face. With that, he walked up elegantly and stood in front of the southern heavenly gate. He looked at Paragon of Judgment and smiled warmly. This humble Taoist, Shen Gongbao, has long heard of Paragon of Judgment's name. I've always respected and admired you. Now that Paragon of Sin is fighting against you, Shen Gongbao can't help but bow 3 times to show my respect. Shen Gongbao's words were natural, but there were faint traces of aura flowing around his body, connecting with some mysterious power. He was unusually sincere. However, in the demon court, all the cultivators and Yao officials who heard this felt the corners of their mouths twitch. Damn it, who knows how many times we'll be in trouble after receiving his bow. Respect? Please don't show this kind of respect to me. I can't accept it. That's just too much. Before Shen Gongbao broke through to the ancient demon god level, he was already a jinx. Even the Emperor of Longevity showed signs of the 5 decays of heaven and man after being bowed to. Now that he broke through to the ancient demon god level, his power of misfortune was even more unreasonable. Who knew how scary it would be? As soon as Shen Gongbao finished speaking, he immediately bowed to Paragon of Judgment respectfully. Aya! When Paragon of Judgment heard Shen Gongbao's words, he felt uneasy. His eyelids kept twitching, and it was strange. At first, he felt a little strange. However, when Shen Gongbao bowed, he felt that his primordial spirit, which had completely merged with his flesh and blood, was trembling inexplicably, showing signs of separating from his flesh and blood. At this moment, even with his temperament, his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. His feet made a clatter, and his body trembled. During this tremble, the divine light of judgment dimmed a little, and the heavenly coffin of sin violently slammed forward. Oh no, something's wrong. Paragon of Judgment's heart beat wildly. He felt that something was wrong almost immediately. However, it was too late. Shen Gongbao smiled and bowed again. Woo-woo. Suddenly, a phenomenon of ghosts crying and gods howling appeared between heaven and earth. Gusts of sinister wind blew, and it was bone-chilling. Paragon of Judgment's expression changed drastically. He felt that his entire Paragon body was trembling, and the signs of his primordial spirit leaving his flesh and blood were becoming more and more obvious. The divine light of judgment dimmed even more, and the heavenly coffin of sin swept over domineeringly. Shen Gongbao bowed 3 times. In that instant, the autarch of judgment felt the dense power of judgment that had filled his flesh and blood shudder inexplicably. For an indiscernible moment, he actually lost control of it, perhaps for only a billionth of a second. However, the divine light of judgment dissipated on the spot. The heavenly coffin of sin came crashing over. Paragon of Judgment only had time to extend his right hand and punch at the heavenly coffin of sin. The heavenly coffin of sin shattered, turning into countless runes that burrowed into his right arm. His entire arm instantly turned pitch black, and terrifying signs of gold, stone, and ice appeared on its surface. The terrifying curse was constantly eroding his paragon body. Crack! However, before he could cover his ears, a sword light flashed across his arm. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1206. Double monthly ticket. Raise if you have a ticket. Crack. A pitch-black severed arm flew out from Judgment Supremacy's body. There was no hesitation in that strike. No hesitation. No hesitation. No hesitation. No hesitation. Incomparable decisiveness. One could see that there was still pitch-black blood dripping from where the arm had been severed. A large number of runes flew out of the severed arm. Once again, the heavenly coffin of sin was formed. The lid of the coffin opened, and the severed arm was sucked into the coffin. With a bang, the coffin closed. Everything happened so quickly that the radiant God King and Darkness Goddess didn't even have time to react. They could only watch as one of the Supreme Judge's arms was cut off. No one could have imagined that the stalemate would suddenly turn around. Moreover, most of their attention was on guarding against the demon court. Even they couldn't react in time. Holy purification! The radiant God King reacted quickly. The moment the severed arm was cut off, he waved the scepter of light in his hand at the severed arm. A snow-white holy light condensed in the air and landed on the severed arm. As soon as it touched the severed arm, it reacted violently, almost like acid. Wisps of black smoke could be seen rising from the severed arm, but they were purified with great difficulty by the holy light. Soon, the blood flowing out of the severed arm turned golden. Whoosh! Immediately afterward, there was a flash of light where the arm had been cut off. Inch by inch, the flesh and blood wriggled as if they were alive, and a new arm grew out. It was exactly the same as the original arm, and there was not the slightest difference. However, there was an almost imperceptible paleness on the Judgment Sovereign's face. "Who are you?" The Paragon of Judgment stared coldly at Shun Gongbao and questioned him without any trace of politeness. "This humble Taoist is Shun Gongbao." Shun Gong smiled as he looked at the Supreme Being of Judgment, not minding his gaze that seemed to want to tear him into pieces. He said unhurriedly, "Actually, I feel that 3 bows are far from enough to express my respect for you, the Supreme Being. How about this humble Taoist give you 9 kowtows? This humble Taoist is more sincere that way." He seemed to really respect the Paragon of Judgment. He didn't seem to be joking at all. "Shut up." The Paragon of Judgment's face twitched, and he gritted his teeth. "So you're the Bane. I don't need your respect. If you want to worship someone, you should worship your shifter emperor. I didn't expect you to still be alive. If I knew you were here, I would have brought that Bane star with me." In his heart, he was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. The severed arm was sucked into the heavenly coffin of sin and couldn't be retrieved. The body of a paragon was a fusion of flesh and blood with a nascent divinity. What was severed wasn't just a severed arm, but a part of the nascent divinity as well. The loss could be said to be great. It suffered a certain amount of damage. Black Tortoise Ancestor, you've been spying in the dark for so long. It's time for you to show yourself. The Demon Emperor slaughtered his way through the treasure realm and plundered a large number of planes. Whether it was the treasure beasts or the spirit roots, he captured everything in one fell swoop. He has already violated your rules. Could it be that you intend to let your rules be trampled on and allow the Demon Emperor to do as he pleases? Do you not care about the destruction of the treasure realm? Do you not care about the worship of countless treasure beasts? At this moment, the Dark Goddess raised her eyes and swept her gaze across the void. She coldly spat out a sentence. "That's right, Black Tortoise. If you plan to deal with the Demon Emperor, the 3 of us can help." The Radiant God King also said. Rumble. As soon as the Radiant God King finished speaking, a distortion appeared in the void in the sky curtain of light and darkness. Amidst the distortion, a huge black tortoise appeared out of thin air. On the black tortoise's body, sharp black barbs stood up one by one on its black shell. It looked abnormally ferocious. In particular, there was a pitch-black serpent coiled on its back. The two were one. It emitted a majestic pressure. It was not inferior to the 3 primeval paragons in the slightest. Moreover, the most terrifying thing was that there was not only one black tortoise ancestor, but a total of 1,000 of them. That terrifying pressure filled every inch of the void in the sky curtain. Every one of them seemed to be real, but also seemed to be fake. There was no difference at all. They all had flesh and blood, and they all had the same power. This was a miraculous power displayed by the rules of this level of the Sky-Split Tower, but was indeed terrifying. Although there were not billions of black tortoises, the presence of 1,000 of them was even more terrifying. This was 1,000 sovereigns and 1,000 paragons. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to have frozen. This is a treasure beast. Even D. Shurton, who was sitting in the demon court as steady as a mountain, could not help but feel his pupils constrict and his heart tighten. He did not expect there to be such a rule in the Sky-Split Tower, but since he had done it, he did not regret it. However, he felt a strong pressure. The 1,000 black tortoises vaguely surrounded the demon court. Oomph. Judgment, darkness, light. You 3 don't have to provoke this ancestor. The demon emperor has violated the rules, so he naturally has to pay the price. However, it seems like the enmity between the 3 of you is deeper. If you want to settle it, you should do it first. The black tortoises spoke almost at the same time. There was no flaw in it. All of the mirror images were the same. Black tortoise, this treasure realm is the territory of the 5 of you. After the 3 of us entered, we respected your rules. In terms of friendship, we know each other. As for the demon emperor, no matter how you look at it, we all need to get rid of him. What you said just now seemed to be biased. If this were to let the treasure beasts know, it would be quite detrimental to your prestige. Why don't we join forces and suppress the demon emperor? This demon court can be used as a temporary residence for the 5 of you. We only want the demon emperor to fall. Judgment Paragon said coldly. He did not hide the killing intent in his words. The black tortoise listened, a strange light flickering in its eyes. It seemed to be moved. From time to time, it swept its gaze over the demon court. Your Majesty, you must be careful. This Sky-Split Tower is very strange. The rules here greatly increase the power of treasure beasts. Even a sovereign like this can create 1,000 mirror images. Once a battle breaks out, the demon court will be at a disadvantage. The 5 Elements Patriarch said with a serious expression. No matter how strong an immortal great artifact was, it would not be able to withstand the attacks of 1,000 sovereigns. That was too terrifying. In the tower, the Xuanwu Old Ancestor was unbeatable. He was an invincible existence. Even an immortal great artifact could be destroyed on the spot. It was too terrifying. Black Tortoise. Even if this emperor has broken the rules, the ignorant are not guilty. Even if there is a problem, it is not impossible to discuss. Sakura looked straight into Xianwu's eyes. There wasn't the slightest bit of fear on his face as he said calmly, "This emperor is only a step away from the sovereign realm. How can the sovereign realm stop my footsteps? A sovereign or an eternal supreme god? Do you have the confidence to keep me and the demon court in the tower? If you really become my enemy and let me escape from the Sky-Split Tower and return to the chaos, you will know in the future how powerful an enemy you have made today. Friend or foe, you must think clearly." His voice was unusually sonorous and powerful. Every word carried an unyielding and confident will. There was no sign of weakness. There was no fear. Even if they were enemies, there was no fear. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, there would be a time to make a comeback in the future. There would be a time to settle the score. In his words, there was a hint of threat. This threat was quite obvious. When the black tortoise heard this, its already small eyes immediately narrowed. When Tian Can, Huang Quan, and the others heard this, cold sweat broke out all over their bodies. They were secretly shocked. At the same time, the way they looked at Di Tian had also become somewhat different. His majesty was still his majesty after all. His momentum had never been weak. You are threatening this ancestor. The black tortoise patriarch narrowed his eyes, and his tone became cold. Who was he? He was in existence on the same level as the sovereign realm, and yet he was being threatened? This was the first time he had ever been threatened by a half-step sovereign realm demon emperor, and the flames of fury in his heart flared up. This threat was simply inexplicable. It's not a threat, just a warning. Tion looked calmly into his eyes. Oomph. This ancestor wants to see how you're going to threaten me in the sky-reaching tower. The black tortoise had an inexplicable coldness, as if he was about to make a threatening decision. Who dares to hurt my precious you? Crack! At this moment, a huge figure appeared outside the sky. A purple light swept across the sky, and at the same time, the sky shook violently. At the same time, a huge figure with an endless ancient aura broke through the sky domineeringly. 3 dazzling divine lights stretched out for hundreds of thousands of feet. They swept across the void. They carried a strong and domineering aura. Imperial Phoenix Mother. When the black tortoise patriarch saw this, he couldn't help but shout, "You actually came in too. Could it be that you also want to find the secret of the next level of the sky-reaching tower?" Suddenly, a trace of imperceptible fear could be heard from the black tortoise's mouth. Oomph. If Imperial Mother didn't come, wouldn't my York be bullied by an old turtle like you? A phoenix several million feet tall coldly glanced at the black tortoise. She let out a cold snort, but it was clear and melodious. Imperial Phoenix Mother, I am the black tortoise, not a turtle. The black tortoise patriarch glared and shouted angrily. Turtles and black tortoises are all the same. They all know how to shrink back. The Imperial Phoenix Mother sneered without holding back. The black tortoise felt like crying, but had no tears. He sneered. Imperial Phoenix Mother, could it be that you want to stand up for the Shifter Emperor? If you aren't, then this ancestor will not pursue your junior. I'll let you take him away. This Shifter Emperor actually dares to threaten me. I, the Black Tortoise Patriarch, have never suffered such humiliation in tens of thousands of years. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 12:07. If I knew you were a tortoise, why don't you shrink your head back? If you piss me off, I'll turn you into a tortoise. The old mother phoenix glared at the black tortoise fiercely. She didn't hide her barbaric nature at all. Old mother imperial phoenix, don't push me too far. If it wasn't for the fact that you're from the savage beast clan, I, the black tortoise, might not be afraid of you. Don't forget that this level is the domain of us treasure beasts. The mirror image law here makes my treasure beast clan invincible. If we really fight, I have a higher chance of winning than you. When the black tortoise ancestor heard the words tortoise and tortoise, his pea-sized eyes almost spewed out flames of anger as he roared in anger. The black snake on his back flicked its forked tongue and made terrifying noises. As the ancestor of the treasure beasts, how could he not be angry when the old mother imperial phoenix didn't give him any face? That's right, old mother imperial phoenix. Your race was the absolute overlord of the origin world in the past. You dominated the world for an era and were known as the ancient barbarians. It was because of the appearance of the demon race that your race was forced to withdraw from the origin world. If you want to talk about enmity, the blood feud between you and the demon race can't be contained. Why don't we join forces and destroy the demon emperor? The trial sovereign didn't give up on any chance to rope in Tion and immediately spoke. Oomph. What a great trial sovereign. With your moral integrity, you're not worthy of being a judge of all living beings. If you want to judge someone, judge yourself first. The old mother imperial phoenix glanced at the trial sovereign in disdain and said mockingly, what happened back then was a war between our race and the demon race. The demon race didn't use any tricks. There's no right or wrong in a war. A loss is a loss. What's there to deny? There's no eternal protagonist in this world. The wisest choice is to retreat when the situation is dire. The demon race's actions back then have the right to replace our race. Why do you have to comment on what happened back then? You're just meddling in other people's business. There was not the slightest bit of goodwill in those words. Tion was sitting on the cloud throne. After witnessing the appearance of the ancient phoenix matriarch and her words, he couldn't help but ponder. Vaguely, he had a general understanding of some matters between the man-ancient era and the antiquity times. It seemed that some things were not as imagined, nor could they be summarized by hearsay. There must be an unusual secret existence. Old Mother Phoenix, no matter how strong you are, you may not be able to withstand the combined attacks of Brother Xuanwu and us. Why don't you take your juniors and leave? That way, it will be easier for you to meet them in the future. Otherwise, the dark goddess coldly glanced at the old Mother Imperial Phoenix, who was emitting a tyrannical aura, and spoke with a faint threat. Give it a try. Let's see if I'm afraid of you. Old Mother Imperial Phoenix rolled her eyes and gave her a disdainful glance. That's right. This emperor is extremely grateful for Mother's assistance. Even if the laws here are strange and will be of great help to the treasure beasts, it's not like I don't have the means to break them. Besides, the demon court has reached undying. I don't have to be afraid of them. Tion didn't hide his strong desire to attack at all. Now that the demon court had reached the level of a high-grade, immortal-grade divine artifact, the power of the city had reached an unimaginable level. Moreover, all the lightning-gathering cannons had been upgraded, and the power of the purple firmament god-slaying cannons had greatly increased. Every half-step Dominator rank attack rose to Dominator rank attack power in one fell swoop. Their fighting strength was not inferior to any of the primeval autarchs. Don't think that I'm helping you, Yao Emperor. I'm only helping my precious Yuer. Old Mother Imperial Phoenix snorted. She didn't appreciate Tian's goodwill. Tian smiled. He wasn't angry at all. Ancestor Xuanwu, Paragon of Judgment, the Radiant God King, and the Dark Goddess surrounded the demon court. The 1,000 Xuanwu figures in particular gave off an incomparably heavy pressure. They were at odds with the demon court. In the void, there was a tense atmosphere that was filled with swords drawn and bows bent. Paragon of Judgment, Dark Goddess, Radiant God King, are you planning to violate the treaty that your sovereign divine realm signed with the demon race? As paragons, you dare to openly attack the Yao Emperor? Are you going to break the treaty? At this moment, a snow-white spatial gate appeared in front of the demon court without any warning. An old man wearing a silver-white robe walked out of the door naturally. There was a faint layer of fog on his face, making it impossible for others to see him clearly. It was a very hazy feeling. Outside his body, countless spaces were constantly being destroyed and reborn, and this cycle was endless. In his left hand, he held a silver-white book. It was a book of space. In his right hand, he held a mysterious silver-white scepter. His aura wasn't obvious, making him look like an ordinary old man. Space Ruler. Paragon of Judgment's eyes narrowed slightly as he slowly uttered the words. Didn't you go looking for the path to the ancient celestial realm? I didn't think you'd have the time to come here. The Radiant God King took a deep breath. For the first time, a trace of seriousness and fear appeared on his face. If the three Lord Sovereigns really did leave, wouldn't you be completely unbridled? You even dared to break the treaty from the ancient era. You swore an oath to the laws of the Great Tao. Aren't you afraid of calamity? The spatial gate didn't close with the appearance of the Space Ruler. One figure after another walked out. It was the Myriad Tribulation Ancestor, the Ghost King, and the Lightning Ancestor. The one who spoke was the Lightning Ancestor. His voice was as loud as thunder. Good, we finally made it. Celestial King clapped his hands and laughed loudly. Before the sky-split tower opened, the Myriad Tribulation Ancestor and the others had said that they would split up to search for the three Lord Sovereigns after learning that Paragon of Judgment had pursued Tion in the primordial chaos. Once they found them, they would immediately bring them here to keep the primeval sovereigns in check. And now, they'd arrived at the critical moment. As soon as the space ruler arrived, the power he brought with him was simply intimidating. Even the primeval sovereigns feared him greatly. Oof. It's not that I broke the treaty, but that the monster emperor killed my brother. Even the treaty can't restrain such a blood feud. Even the treaty can't stop me from seeking revenge. Paragon of Judgment didn't back down. He looked at the space ruler and said coldly, "Space ruler, don't think that just because you have the divine mausoleum, you can dispel my desire for revenge. You have the divine mausoleum, so we primeval fiend gods don't necessarily fear you." Despite his words, there was still a strong sense of fear when he spoke of the divine mausoleum. Your brother, Tao Lord of Slaughter, was the first to pursue the monster emperor, but he died at the monster emperor's hands in the end. It's even more unreasonable for you to pursue the monster emperor now. Do you really think that the 9 of you primeval sovereigns can suppress us 3 sovereigns? Judgment, if you want to fight, this seat will accompany you at any time. Boom, boom, boom. Space distorted as a domineering, unbridled will poured down from the sky. As the voice spoke, an unusually burly middle-aged man in long black robes appeared out of thin air. He radiated a domineering aura, and there was an untamed, demonic aura between his brows. A single glare was enough to cause one's soul to crumble. His aura was extremely domineering. Demon Lord. The dark goddess's eyes flashed as she slowly uttered a sentence. I didn't think that 2 sovereigns would come for a single monster emperor. Since you're here, the Fate Ruler should be here as well. Let's go, the Radiant God King said in a low voice. He hadn't expected the Sky-Split Tower to be so lively. Not only had the 3 primeval sovereigns arrived, but even the Black Tortoise Ancestor, the Primordial Beast Ancestor, Old Mother Phoenix Emperor, and several other sovereigns had arrived. One had to admit that this was a gathering of the most elite in the primeval chaos. Radiant God King, the treaty was signed under the joint witness of us 3 sovereigns and 9 primeval sovereigns. I'm afraid it's inappropriate to break it. A dense presence of destiny constantly reverberated through space. Vaguely, it seemed like a tangible river of destiny was constantly reverberating and flowing forward. Many unparalleled demon emperors could vaguely sense that they could see their own destinies in the river of destiny. Past life, present life, and even future life. A young man in long purple robes who radiated a dense aura of destiny suddenly appeared. It was the legendary Fate Ruler. However, there was an indescribable vicissitude about his appearance that was only in his 20s. It was the accumulation of time. A pair of purple eyes seemed to be able to see through the workings of destiny. This was the divine eye of destiny. It naturally radiated an ethereal and transcendent aura. He held a purple book in his hand. It was the divine book of destiny. In his right hand, he held a purple scepter of destiny. Beneath his feet, a vast river of destiny flowed forward. The Fate Ruler, the Demon Lord, and the Space Ruler were the 3 sovereigns of the world. They appeared in front of the Black Tortoise Ancestor at the same time. Although they did not move, they gave off a powerful pressure. Although there were only 3 of them, they seemed to be suppressing the Black Tortoise Ancestor and the 3 sovereigns. Are you trying to bully the weak? Paragon of Judgment narrowed his eyes. That's right. Fate, Demon Lord, Space. If you 3 want to protect the Yao Emperor, we old farts will not allow it. Rumble. At that moment, the phaseless mirror in the air flashed and opened up an endless passage. A demon ancestor wearing a snow-white demon robe, whose face seemed to be constantly changing all kinds of appearances, broke through the air and arrived. Lord Phaseless Demon Lord. The Yao Emperor killed Great Emperor shrouding heaven. We cannot let him go. The Bloody Blade Demon and the Reverend Heaven Ancestor cried out in joy when they saw who it was. How can we let him go so easily after killing the experts of the Demon God continent? The Phaseless Demon Lord was constantly changing his appearance. Sometimes he was a man, sometimes he was a woman, sometimes he was Great Emperor shrouding heaven, and sometimes he was something else. There was no sign of him at all. It was very strange, and it was impossible to tell who was who. That's right, Paragon of Judgment. We demon gods are on your side in this matter. If you want to protect the Yao Emperor, I, the fallen demon lord, will be the first to object. A pitch-black figure appeared out of thin air. Outside of him, there was a boundless aura of depravity. There is also this seat, Wutian. Fate ruler, just because you have 3 tombs doesn't mean you are invincible. Another demonic figure appeared. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1208. Double monthly ticket period. Those with tickets will be boosted. The fallen demon Ancestor was unusually handsome. His face naturally revealed an inexplicable evil aura. There was a strange charm on his body. It was as if he could make any cultivator develop a strong sense of worship in their hearts, making them want to worship him and follow him forever. Outside him, one could almost see countless demon gods surrounding him, singing beautiful praises. They were tempting him into the abyss of depravity. The ancestor of the sky demon, who came next, also had an unusually young appearance. He held a pitch-black demonic umbrella in his hand. It looked very similar to the sky-shielding umbrella from before. His pitch-black demonic hair constantly fluttered on its own, revealing a lawless supreme will. His arrogance soared to the sky, and he was unruly to the extreme. Formless, skyless, and fallen demon ancestors, judgment, darkness, and light, the 3 supremes, and the black tortoise ancestor. There were a total of 7 sovereigns. On the other side, Old Mother Phoenix, Fate, Demon Master, and Space. On the surface, it looked like there were only 4 sovereigns, but their formless auras were not inferior to the other side at all. In addition, there was the demon court. For a moment, the atmosphere in the void was faintly tense. Emitting an incomparably oppressive aura, the unparalleled demon emperors and the judgment divine guards were almost constantly retreating. They kept moving further and further away. Just the pressure alone could directly crush them to death. Crush them into meat paste. It looked like the judgment divine guards had the advantage in numbers. Furthermore, they had the black tortoise ancestor, an old antique, who used unique rules to be invincible here. However, they all had a strong sense of fear towards the Fate divine guards. Fate, Demon Master, Space. We haven't seen each other for close to 100,000 years. However, this time, are you really going to stand up for the Shifter Emperor? The ancestor of the sky demon glanced coldly at D. Shirton, then at the Fate divine guards, and asked in a deep voice, bullying the weak. The Shifter Emperor is a peerless genius of the origin world. If I let you kill him, I won't call myself a sovereign. Whoever dares to touch the Shifter Emperor will be an enemy of my Devil Master. The demon lord's every word was resounding and powerful. He carried an unparalleled determination as he coldly swept his gaze over all the demon ancestors and supremes. There was an unconcealable intense fighting spirit in his eyes. Sovereign-level existences like us are imperishable and indestructible. Our fleshly body and nascent divinity are one. Even if we were to fight for 1,000 years, we might not necessarily be able to determine the victor. If they were to continue fighting here, it would affect the entire primal chaos. It wouldn't do anyone any good. Why don't we both take a step back? The dark goddess took a deep breath, looked at the atmosphere that had almost begun to solidify, and muttered to herself. How do we retreat? The demon lord sneered and glanced over. He mocked. Could it be that you want us to hand over the Shifter Emperor? In my opinion, how about this? The fallen demon ancestor snickered evilly, since the Paragon of Judgment and the demon emperor have a grudge against each other for the death of their brothers. It could be said to be a blood feud as deep as the ocean. Why don't we have a duel between the Paragon of Judgment and the demon emperor? The winner lives and the loser dies. Life and death depended on one's ability. Even if I die, I will not regret it. He casually put forward a seemingly fair proposal. However, when they heard this, all the experts in the demon court, including the myriad tribulation ancestor, felt an urge to curse out loud. Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? How could you make such a suggestion? What bullshit fairness? That's complete nonsense. An ancient sovereign fighting a half-step sovereign? That's the funniest joke in the world. There was an insurmountable gap between sovereigns and non-sovereigns. Whether it was in cultivation or magic power, there was an enormous gap between them. If a half-step sovereign clashed with a sovereign, there's almost no doubt that the half-step sovereign would be blasted to smithereens. The difference was simply too great. To suggest that Tion should duel with a primeval supremacy was truly a good idea. Fallen Devil Ancestor, your words are a bit excessive. The space god's voice also contained a hint of anger. This was fairness, pure favoritism, and murder. It was an attempt to kill Tion. Once the duel started, there was a 90% chance that he would fall. How could he not see the sinister nature of this proposal? Too much. However, this seat thinks that the Fallen Devil Ancestor's proposal is not bad. This seat can agree to a duel that will obviously damage my reputation. I just don't know if the Yao Emperor has the guts to do so. The Trial Supremacy's eyes lit up as he looked at Tion provocatively. To him, this suggestion was the best way to take revenge. Shao Chun could kill the Fiend Emperor openly and legitimately, washing away his lost face and taking revenge for his younger brother. It could be said to be the most perfect proposal. Oof, what a primeval supremacy to be so shameless. The lightning ancestor coldly snorted. His expression was filled with disdain. Fine, this emperor will agree. A duel of life and death shall not end until one is dead. Just when all the powerhouses didn't think that the demon emperor would agree, Sakura, who had been sitting on the throne and hadn't spoken much, suddenly agreed with an unusually resolute tone. There was a hint of decisiveness in his voice. It was as if once he had decided, no power could change it. This was an emperor. His words were like nails that were set in stone. There was no room for negotiation. Good. The Yao Emperor is indeed the Yao Emperor. This seat did not underestimate you. The Fallen Devil Ancestor laughed strangely and made the decision on the spot. There was no room for negotiation. Yao Emperor, the Space Dominus heard this and could not help but frown slightly. He looked at him, shook his head, and sighed faintly. His voice also revealed that he felt that the Yao Emperor was a little reckless. He was too arbitrary. Good. What a peerless Yao Emperor. No wonder my daughter thinks so highly of you. You are indeed extraordinary. The Demon Master secretly nodded and muttered. This emperor agrees to the duel of life and death. But Tion did not have any intention of going back on his words. However, this sentence still made the Trial Supremacy frown slightly. But what? The Trial Supremacy asked. But the date of the duel must be decided by this emperor. Tion slowly said. You decide? How long do you want? Are you trying to stall for time? The Radiant God King questioned. 10 years. 10 years later, this emperor and you will have a duel of life and death. We will fight to the death. Tion said with a dignified expression. His face naturally revealed a dignified expression, which made his words filled with a convincing feeling. 10 years. The Trial Supremacy pondered for a moment and said, all right, this supremacy will give you 10 years. However, 10 years later, you and I will fight. You're not allowed to borrow the power of the Demon Court. Otherwise, don't blame us for attacking together. 10 years later, we will fight to the death in the life and death domain. Only one of us can come out alive. The only thing that the Trial Supremacy was afraid of Tion was the Demon Court. When he heard that he needed 10 years, he did not hesitate and took the opportunity to remove the Demon Court from the duel. This way, the advantage he had would be infinitely expanded. Without the Demon Court, he did not think that the Yao Emperor would be his opponent. All right, this emperor agrees. Tion agreed without hesitation. Words are no guarantee. Let's write a duel to the death. The Trial Supremacy said again. Obviously, He was afraid that Di Shirtion would not dare to accept the duel and would run away. A piece of white paper appeared in the void. There was an invisible force rapidly writing on it. Today, the Trial Supremacy and the Yao Emperor Di Shirtion have written a duel to the death. 10 years later, both parties will enter the life and death domain to fight to the death. There will only be one life and one death. If the Trial Supremacy does not accept the duel, under the rules of the Grand Tao, both parties will be annihilated. A letter of challenge was written out of thin air. The Supreme Being's fingers split open, and golden blood flowed out. He wrote in the air, writing the words Supreme Being of Judgment on the letter of challenge. Di Shirtion did not hesitate, and wrote the words Yao Emperor Di Shirtion on the duel with his own sovereign blood. Both parties signed the duel. Suddenly, a mysterious force descended and swept the entire letter of challenge into the void, disappearing without a trace. There was no trace of it. All right, the duel has been written. If you don't come in 10 years, I won't have to kill you. The Grand Tao will kill you. The Trial Supremacy sneered. You can take advantage of the last 10 years and enjoy your last moments. With that, he waved his sleeve and disappeared with the Trial Divine Guards. TSK, I will definitely go and watch the duel in 10 years. The fall of a peerless genius must be something that will make me excited. The fallen demon Ancestor laughed strangely and left as well. Charming, why haven't you come back yet? The heart-devouring demon Ancestor has been waiting for you to return. The heavenless archdevil Ancestor swept his gaze across the soaring firmament demon court and landed on Maexa. His voice was filled with irresistible power. Return? You'll have to ask my husband if he agrees or not. Maexian didn't hesitate to chuckle and reply to Di Shirtion. You're on your own. The no-sky demon Ancestor narrowed his eyes and didn't say anything else. In the blink of an eye, the two demon ancestors disappeared with the rest of the demon emperors. Demon Emperor, since you've made a duel with Trial, I'll let you live this time. The black tortoise Ancestor also spat out a sentence. He turned and left. As expected, you're still a tortoise. The ancient phoenix mother saw this and sneered disdainfully. I'm a black tortoise, not a tortoise. When the black tortoise Ancestor heard this, he almost fell to the ground. He screamed helplessly and hurriedly left. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the experts that had almost frozen the void left one after another. The Fate's Supremacy and the others didn't stop them. At this level, it wasn't easy to keep any of them alive. However, the Fate's Supremacy, the Demon Master, and the Space Supremacy didn't leave. Instead, they turned and looked at Di Shirtion. 3 supremacies. This emperor has prepared a banquet in the Jade Pool. Please enter the city. Di Shirtion stood up from his throne and nodded slightly as he invited the 3 supremacies. As he spoke, he didn't put himself at a disadvantage. Instead, he treated them as equals. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1209. That's fine too. Back in the primordial era, we parted in a hurry and didn't have time to talk. Back then, you were just a little Yao god who had just proven your Tao through strength. Who would have thought that when we meet again today, not only would you have reached the half-step ruler realm, but you'd also forged such a heaven-suppressing demon court, an immortal grade divine artifact. Even I can't help but admire you. The demon lord looked at Di Shirtion, then swept his gaze over the demon court. He could sense that the ancient city's aura was strangely concealed. The world inside was almost completely cut off from the outside world. There wasn't a single flaw to be found. The 4 ancient heavenly gates suppressed the 4 directions. It was a display of the demon court's supreme might. At a glance, it was as if he was looking at an existence as great as himself. He couldn't help but nod slightly. I've long heard that the demon court is rich in spirit wine and fine brews. There are even heaven-grade immortal brews. This old man has long wanted to taste them. Even if you didn't invite me, I would have come uninvited. The space god's expression was that of an ordinary old man, like an old farmer next door. He no longer had the mysterious aura of a god. Instead, he seemed to have returned to his natural state. Those who didn't know better wouldn't have thought that he was in existence standing at the very peak of the primordial chaos realm. Good. The fate god swept a meaningful glance over D. Chertion. His eyes, filled with the vicissitudes of time, seemed to be able to see through everything. Immortal grade divine artifact. I've only heard that the primordial god fiends used countless years of accumulation and countless materials to forge it with a piece of myriad divine metal as the main material, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. Today, I naturally can't miss the demon court. I want to see where my darling will live in the future. Tricolored light flashed from Imperial Phoenix's body. In the blink of an eye, her enormous body transformed into a peerless goddess. She wore a tricolored feather dress that perfectly accentuated her flawless figure. Her smooth curves exuded explosive temptation. One couldn't help but stare at her, unable to look away. In the Jade Pool, the banquet was held with the highest standards. 10,000-year-old fine wines were brought out without any hesitation. Some spirit wines were sealed in gourds. After being sealed for tens of thousands of years, they were opened to reveal a gourd full of fine wine. In the end, there was only a small cup, but it was as if it was about to solidify. It was unusually sticky and incomparably mellow. It could be said to be a divine wine. The vegetables were grown from the sacred spirit tree of reincarnation and cooked by the culinary god clan. It could be said to be the most supreme enjoyment in the world. As soon as they sat down, even the four sovereigns couldn't help but have a great appetite. They unceremoniously picked up their bowls and chopsticks and tasted all the dishes on the table. Even the old mother of the Imperial Phoenix Divine Emperor was smiling from ear to ear. Regardless of whether it was the wine or the delicacies, all of them left a rich aftertaste. Other than the four space sovereigns and Di Chertion, there were also Chunshi, Mei Exen, Katomi, Su Tianxiang, Di Ur, his two children, the soliciting moon holy mother, Di Ling Zi Xian, and the others. However, they did not share the same table. After 3 rounds of wine, the space sovereign put down the wine cup in his hand and said, "Shifter Emperor, you agreed too hastily. It's only 10 years, and you won't be able to draw on the power of the demon court. I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous for you when the time comes." He continued with a serious tone, "The primeval supremes are not as simple as you think. The primal chaos is an existence that has existed for much longer than the origin world and the demon god continent. Each of the primeval supremes is exceptionally ancient. If you want to win in 10 years, with your current strength, it will be a little dangerous." Only sovereigns knew the enormous gap between sovereigns and non-sovereigns. It was a realm where one could use every bit of power to the limit. That's right, Shifter Emperor. You are indeed a peerless genius in the origin world. You didn't rely on any external power, only yourself, and steadily advanced step by step. You even reached the half-step sovereign realm in a short time. In the entire world, you're the only one I have ever seen. However, there is still a huge gap between you and the Judgment Supremes. Even if you have the legacy of a conjurer, it will still be the same. The Demon Master said bluntly, "If you want to win, you must become a sovereign. Otherwise, you will almost certainly die." Speaking of which, even though I've managed to reach the half-step ruler realm, I'm not too sure about how to reach the ruler realm or how to cultivate after reaching the ruler realm. I hope the 4 of you can explain it to me. When Di Chertion heard this, he picked up the wine jug and filled the cups of the Fate's sovereign and the others. He asked with unusual sincerity, "Very well. Since you've already reached this level, you should know how to become a sovereign." The Demon Master nodded slightly and took a deep breath. His gaze was deep as he said, "If you want to become a sovereign, you must understand what a sovereign is." That's right. Sovereigns are called sovereigns because once they become a sovereign, they can wield the great Tao and have the supreme power to reverse the universe. Although on the surface, The world can no longer control the will of a peerless expert. They still exist within the laws of the world, within the 3,000 great Taos. To become a sovereign is to comprehend a great Tao to the extreme and cultivate it to the extreme, even surpassing the great Tao that they cultivate. Their great Tao surpasses the original 3,000 great Taos of the world and stands above them. Their divine abilities become one, and their flesh and primordial spirit become one. This is what a true sovereign is. The space sovereign unhurriedly explained the mysteries of the sovereign realm. A sovereign is a great Tao of the world. They're no longer restricted by the great Tao they cultivate. Instead, they wield the great Tao and are the master of the great Tao. His words could be said to have expressed it quite clearly. Those below the level of a peerless expert were bound by the great Tao of the world. They only knew how to borrow the power of the great Tao. A peerless expert was equal to the great Tao of the world. They were one. They were not enslaved, nor could they transcend. A sovereign was the master of the great Tao. They could change it at will and even use it. The most crucial aspect was the fusion of the physical body and the primordial spirit. When the physical body became immortal, it was the indestructible divinity of the great Tao that one cultivated. When the primordial spirit became immortal, it was the comprehension of the essence of the great Tao. It was the realm. Only by combining the two could one truly comprehend the wonders of the great Tao. One's body was the great Tao. Otherwise, the physical body and the primordial spirit were two parts. Would a great Tao be divided into two parts? I see. Tion listened carefully. The people before him were all seniors in terms of cultivation. Some of their experiences in cultivation could be said to be the most precious treasure. It would be a pity to miss even a sliver of it. He listened to their descriptions and compared them to his own situation. Gradually, he became more aware of the changes in his body. If he wanted to become a sovereign, he had to have his own Tao. He didn't need to worry about himself at all. He didn't cultivate any of the 3,000 orthodox great Taos. Instead, he cultivated the ultimate Emperor Great Tao, which was formed by the fusion of the Tao of Emperor and the Tao of Desire. He was the founder of this great Tao. There was no possibility of him being bound by the great Tao. No cultivator in the world understood the ultimate Emperor Great Tao better than him. It was a great Tao that was unique and independent of the 3,000 great Taos. Moreover, his divine ability was completely centered around the ultimate Emperor Tao. It was condensed into the supreme Emperor mantra. Once it was a divine ability, all battle skills were derived from it. As the saying went, the Tao gave birth to one gave birth to two gave birth to three, and three gave birth to all things. The fusion of flesh and primordial spirit was originally the final step, but it had been completed long ago. It was a perfect fusion. It could be said that all obstacles on the path to becoming a sovereign had been swept away. As long as his cultivation reached a certain level, he could ascend to the sovereign realm at any time. After listening, Tion suddenly asked, "What do the four of you think about acupoints?" They talked a lot, but the space dominus and the others didn't mention anything about acupoints. Tion, who had been puzzled by the sudden changes in his acupoints, didn't hesitate. He took advantage of this opportunity to ask about them. Acupoints. When the demon lord heard this, he couldn't help but reveal a strange expression. His gaze fell on Tion's face and swept back and forth a few times. Even the fate dominus, who had been silent all this time, couldn't help but look at him. He seemed to have heard something strange. To other cultivators, acupoints didn't seem like much, but to them, they seemed to have a mysterious attraction. Even though we received the divine tomb's inheritance, we were unable to truly understand the mysteries of acupoints. There are only a few words in the divine tomb, and rumor has it that they are closely related to the sovereign realm's ascension to the eternal divine sovereign level. After a long silence, the demon lord slowly uttered these words. As soon as this sentence came out, there was a violent tremor in Sakra's mind. He had an inconceivable guess about the inexplicable changes in his acupoints. Yao Emperor, I've watched you grow, and I've never done anything you weren't confident in. Since you agreed to the battle of 10 years and the wager of life and death, you must have a foolproof plan. However, you are a genius born of our origin world. Today, we can't just stand by and do nothing. Speak. The only thing we can do is help you push on the path to Sovereign Realm. The Fate Dominus's aged voice slowly spoke. That's right. My daughter thinks highly of you, and as her father, I can't be stingy. Speak. What do you want? The Demon Lord said with great confidence. I want the Divine Tomb's tombstone. When Deshurtian heard this, he spoke in a low voice. Everyone immediately fell silent. You want the Divine Tomb's tombstone? The Fate Dominus's eyes shone brightly as he asked again. That's right. If you can give me the tombstone, Deshurtian, promise you that if you need anything in the future, I will agree to one request from each of you. This emperor will owe you a favor. Deshurtian continued without backing down. The Fate Dominus, the Space Dominus, and the Demon Lord glanced at each other, a hint of solemnity and confusion in their eyes. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 12:10. As they looked at each other, the three divine consciousnesses quickly communicated with each other. Deshurtian could sense it, but he couldn't hear it. Of course, it wasn't that he couldn't hear it. As long as he used the Clairaudience ability, he could vaguely hear it with his current ability, but he didn't pry. He just waved his hand and said to the maid behind him, "Take away the food and wine. Brew a pot of enlightenment tea, various spiritual essences, and bring some peaches." "Yes, Your Majesty," the maid behind him replied respectfully. Her voice was unusually beautiful. The three divine consciousnesses were also communicating quickly. Back when I obtained the tomb of the god of sin and fully grasped the inheritance, I found a remnant will in the tomb of the god of sin. That tombstone is a unique treasure, although it suppresses the tomb of the god of sin. Even if you obtain the inheritance of the tomb of the god of sin, you can't activate its supreme divine power unless you're fated with it. The moment the tombstone meets a fated person is the moment it leaves. The fated person with the tombstone is the greatest variable in the boundless world. Befriending him will bring endless benefits. Today, the Shifter Emperor asked for the tombstone. Could he be the fated person mentioned in the will? The Space Dominus divine consciousnesses carried a trace of seriousness as he spoke quickly. That's right. There is also such a sentence left in the tomb of the god of sin. Moreover, that tombstone is an item that suppresses the tomb of the god of sin. It selects a successor for the tomb of the god of sin. Without the tombstone's approval, no one can enter the tomb of the god of sin. The tombstone contains great power. When I ascended to the position of dominator, I tried to refine the tombstone, but I couldn't refine it at all. It was like rotten wood in my hands. It seems that we're not fated with the tombstone. The Demon Master said solemnly. Destiny is destiny. The fate of the Shifter Emperor can't be restrained by any river of destiny. Since ancient times, I've already seen that he's a variable. Who knows? He might really be the fated one. This is the Shifter Emperor's opportunity. Perhaps it's our opportunity as well. The Fate Dominus said meaningfully. The three divine consciousnesses communicated quickly. It seemed slow, but in reality, it didn't take much time. However, in this short period of time, the food and wine in front of them were all taken away, and plates of spiritual fruits and peaches were extremely tempting. The aroma of a pot of divine tea of enlightenment filled the air. I can give you a tombstone. However, if we have something to ask of you in the future, you can't refuse. The Space Dominus looked at Deshurtian and said with a serious expression, "That's right, we won't ask about the use of the tombstone. However, since we're asking you to agree to one of our conditions, we won't make it too difficult for you. Perhaps in the future, it will be something that you can easily accomplish," the Demon Master added. His words carried a hint of seriousness and a rare sense of nervousness. Although the chief sovereign of fate didn't say anything, it was clear that the three of them shared the same opinion. Good. In the future, as long as it's within the scope of this emperor's ability, you only need to say a word, and I will absolutely not say half a word of refusal. Sakura pondered for a moment and decisively agreed. 3 tombs, 3 tombstones. To him, this was an indescribable temptation. No matter how difficult things would be in the future, the most important thing now was to obtain the tombstone. All right, Tion agreed. The chief sovereign of fate and the other two no longer hesitated. Light flashed in their hands. All of a sudden, 3 ancient tombstones that looked like stubborn stones landed in the pavilion out of thin air. Boom, boom, boom. Although the 3 tombstones didn't reveal any strange aura, they unnaturally gave the surroundings an indescribable pressure. It was as if a mysterious and ancient aura was circulating within the tombstones. Although they were like stones, they naturally exuded an extraordinary aura. There were no mysterious words on the tombstones like the tombstone in the southern barbaric mountain range. Instead, there was a mysterious ancient character on each tombstone. Speaking of which, it was strange. These ancient characters didn't belong to any of the characters of the Violet Gold Continent. However, they emanated a mysterious power that allowed anyone who saw them to clearly understand the meaning of the ancient characters. Law, army, force. Tian's eyes narrowed slightly as he instantly understood the meaning of these 3 ancient characters. Faintly, he understood some of the secrets contained within. Tian waved his hand and put away the 3 tombstones. 10 years later, the 3 of us will fight for you in the life and death desolation domain. If the primeval supremes don't keep their word, the 3 of us won't be polite either. At most, we'll fight to the death with them. The demon master lifted the teacup in front of him, took a sip, and nodded inwardly. This divine tea of enlightenment had the miraculous effect of allowing one's mind to become closer to the great Tao and comprehend one's realm. It could be said to be a rather miraculous connate spiritual root. As he tasted the tea, he said something. Clearly, he intended to support Yi Futian. Yao Emperor, since my Yu has acknowledged you as his father, I can't just stand by and watch. 10 years later, I'll naturally come to watch the battle. It's fine if you die in battle, but if my Yu is harmed in any way, I won't let you off. The old Mother Phoenix said in a low voice. Yao Emperor, are you confident of becoming a sovereign in 10 years? The Space Dominus asked. 10 years later, judgment will definitely fall in my hands. Tion didn't give a direct answer. If he said he was confident, then the old Mother Phoenix would think that he was being overly arrogant. Who hadn't gone through countless trials and tribulations to become a sovereign? Crossing a heavenly chasm in 10 years would be a little too arrogant. Thus, there was a hint of ambiguity in his words. Chief Sovereign of Fate, what is your relationship with Tai Xian? Inexplicably, Sakura asked. The Fate Dominus shook his head. He's just a drop of blood that fell from my wounds when I fought the 9 demon ancestors in the primordial era. It fell into the mortal world and absorbed the yuan qi of heaven and earth, as well as the essence of the sun and moon. He's somewhat related to me. I also gave him some of my treasures in the past. A strange look flashed through Tian's eyes when he heard this. After sitting in the jade pool for a while, the 3 sovereigns and the old Mother Phoenix bade farewell. However, before leaving, the Space Dominus glanced meaningfully at Charm Exin and said, "Take care of yourself." Charm Exion's expression changed slightly when she heard this. After they left, the Ling Shao demon court trembled slightly and disappeared into thin air. When they left the Sky-Split Tower, they were already in the boundless primal chaos. The myriad tribulation ancestor, the lightning ancestor, and the Ghost King didn't leave. Instead, they each found a Saint vein and sat on it to cultivate. The yuan qi in the sovereign divine veins was too domineering. Even they couldn't bear it. However, Saint veins had unimaginable benefits for half-step sovereigns. It had a miraculous effect on increasing one's cultivation. Sakura, however, was sitting upright in the Emperor's Jade archive. He allowed the vast yuan qi of heaven and earth to pour into his imperial body. It crazily filled his acupoints with yuan qi. Haha, a harvest, a great harvest. I didn't expect the 3 sovereigns to give up on these 3 tombstones so easily and give them to you. Great, these 3 tombstones, in addition to the one in your body, make a total of 4 tombstones. Of the 9 tombstones, there's still 5 left. Once you gather them, you'll be able to see the secrets within. Dark laughed wildly in excitement. It's impossible for the sovereigns to not know the secrets of the tombstones. Even if they can't use them, they know their value. However, they gave them to me without hesitation. In the future, this favor and request won't be simple. Di Shurtian took a deep breath and looked at the 3 tombstones in front of him. It was easy to get, but the favor he owed was huge. He would have to return it in the future. Boundless heaven and earth, absolute Emperor Tao, 3 tombstones, merge into my body. Sakura looked at the 3 tombstones, and his body suddenly exploded, turning into 129,600 indestructible Supreme Emperor talismans. They instantly surrounded the 3 tombstones. They formed the absolute Emperor immortal formation and gathered together. In the blink of an eye, his imperial body reformed. The 3 tombstones were sucked into his body. Boom, boom, boom. Once the tombstones were sucked into his body, they moved under the cleansing of the imperial blood. Suddenly, they seemed to have a mind of their own and moved on their own. The strength steel instantly rushed into the kidneys of the 5 organs. It strangely stood there without moving. However, the entire kidneys had become incomparably tough. It seemed to have endless divine power that could destroy anything. The law tombstone went into his right arm and stayed there. Finally, the soldier steel rushed into his lungs and stayed there, motionless. It made his lungs seem to be incomparably strong. The 4 tombstones were the battle tombstone, the law tombstone, the weapon tombstone, and the strength tombstone. After entering his body, he vaguely felt an illusion that they were resonating with each other from a distance. There was a mysterious connection between each of them. Phew, good. Now that I have 4 tombstones, even if I haven't broken through to the sovereign realm, with the power of these 4 tombstones, I can fight against the Judgment God. I might not necessarily lose. Di Shurtian felt the 4 tombstones in his body, and a strong sense of confidence reverberated in his body. The ultimate Emperor, indestructible Emperor talisman in his left arm, which had been damaged by continuously using the tombstone's power, had transformed under the cleansing of the demon court's ascension to the immortal realm. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use the tombstone's power easily. The power inside was too domineering. Before reaching the sovereign realm, using it would cause great damage. Although there were 4 tombstones now, using it would cause even more damage. Crazy D, you must reach the sovereign realm in 10 years. However, with the demon court, I believe that 10 years will be enough to fill all the acupoints in your body. However, I believe that you have more than just this plan. Could it be that you want to find the ancient city of primal chaos? Underworld's understanding of Di Shurtian was very deep. The moment he opened his mouth, he revealed his purpose. That's right. There can't be any mistakes in reaching the sovereign realm. In a battle of life and death, there must be no mistakes. The ancient city of primal chaos is imperative. Di Shurtian did not deny it. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 12:11. In the past, he hadn't ventured into Primal Chaos City for 2 reasons. First, he had heard about the Supreme God Realm. Second, he knew that there was a high chance of obtaining innate divine treasures in the Tower of Babel. Third, he was afraid that Primal Chaos City would be filled with inexplicable dangers. If he had been alone, he would have chosen to go to Primal Chaos City. But now, he was carrying the entire demonic beast race's inheritance. A single mishap could ruin the monster spirit race's future. It was these three reasons that kept him from acting rashly. When he'd had other options, he'd put the city at the back of his mind. But things were different now. The demon court was an immortal treasure. That alone gave him ample confidence. Even if he encountered some unknown danger in the city, the court would be more than enough to deal with it. Even in the most dangerous of times, it could preserve the monster spirit race's heritage, let alone the fact that Indra also wanted to know what was in the Primal Chaos City. Maybe this would be a great opportunity for him to break through to the Empyrean sovereign realm. The tides of annihilation weren't far off. Once they arrived, the final battle would begin. He had to do everything in his power to ascend to the sovereign realm in 10 years. All right, rumor has it that the city is even older than the Violet Gold Continent and the Demon God Continent. It's one of the oldest existences in the chaos. Once we find it, we'll definitely reap great benefits. But I don't know if we can find it in 10 years. Huaner tilted her head, blinked, and said in a clear voice, "It might have been impossible in the past, but things are different now. With the Chaos Decree, the Demon Court can ascend to the immortal realm and traverse millions of miles with a single thought. No matter how vast the chaos is, we'll definitely be able to find the city in 10 years." Tion wasn't in a hurry. The Demon Court's speed had reached an unfathomable level. Every time the Imperial Jade archive rotated, it absorbed the energy of 3,000 origin immortals from the chaos and infused it into the 3,000 Tao lotuses. The lotuses would produce all sorts of unique, connate vital energy on their own. They could support the Demon Court's speed without a problem. Moreover, even if the Imperial Jade archive didn't absorb chaos energy from the chaos, the ancient city could still rely on the lotuses to generate vital energy. The only difference was that the rate at which the archive devoured energy was much slower. He didn't say anything else. The Primal Chaos token went straight into the Supreme Life Lamp. The coordinates of Primal Chaos City appeared in the Life Lamp. The coordinates were constantly moving. Clearly, Primal Chaos City was not stationary. Under the guidance of a life lantern, the Demon Court was shuttling through the Primal Chaos City at an astonishing speed. Every moment felt as if he was teleporting. As soon as he appeared in one place, he immediately jumped to another. Tion sat cross-legged in the Jade Archive. Every time the Jade Archive spun, it would devour 3,000 primordial chaos chi, and a total of 1,000 primordial chaos chi would be directly injected into his body, pouring into the 108 acupoints all over his body. It continued to fill up the remaining 10% of the acupoints. However, when the vast chaotic chi surged in, it was as if it had entered a bottomless pit. The empty space still seemed to have no changes. Fortunately, Tion could vaguely feel that the power in his acupuncture point had increased slightly. Although it was slow, as long as he could feel the growth, it was enough for him to persevere. Time law, reverse time. The time on the Jade Archive was instantly reversed, turning into a terrifying ratio of 1 to 10,000. And every quarter of an hour required the primordial chaos chi of 100 primordial chaos chi to support it. The Demon Court moved forward steadily. In the ancient city, the group of ancient demon gods did not waste any time. They all sat on the sacred meridians and worked hard to cultivate, stabilizing their own realms, trying their best to improve during this period of time. The ancient city was on the way to Primal Chaos City. At the same time, in the boundless primal chaos, a vast and boundless continent stood in the void. At a glance, this continent was like looking at the Purple Gold Continent or even the Demon God Continent. Vast and boundless. However, outside this land, no chaos chi could enter, as it was blocked out by an invisible barrier. At the edge of the continent, there were patches of auspicious clouds that stood in mid-air. It was like a cloud platform, and there were huge crossbows that were tens of thousands of feet long. On the crossbows, there were countless mysterious runes that were densely distributed. They were constantly flashing and had a monstrous killing power that intimidated all directions. Behind the crossbows, there was a huge puppet that was made of countless materials and emitted a metallic luster. This puppet seemed to be in a deep sleep, but it naturally exuded a powerful deterrent force that intimidated all directions. There was one such cloud platform at every set distance, and it was distributed in the most perfect way in every region of the continent. As long as a battle broke out, it would immediately launch the most terrifying attacks. It was densely packed and uncountable. And on the continent, there were many places that resembled ports. As the saying went, the primal chaos was like the sea, and living beings were the fishes and shrimps in the sea. From time to time, there would be cultivators and primordial god fiends from various parts of the primal chaos landing in the ports and entering the continent. In the center of the continent, there was an incomparably huge divine city. Its size was almost immeasurable. Inside, there were endless streams of all kinds of strange races. It was unusually lively. Primordial god fiends, which were rare in the primal chaos, were abnormally numerous here. There were countless shops inside, and countless god fiends were setting up stalls to exchange for items they wanted, and so on. What other worlds that could be seen here? At this moment, in a restaurant, people were discussing the same thing. I heard that Autarch of Judgment went to hunt down the monster emperor who killed his brother, Lord of Slaughter. Who would have thought this would happen? Rumor has it that even the Radiant God King and the Dark Goddess went to help, but they still failed to kill the monster emperor. If I hadn't seen Autarch of Judgment's furious expression with my own eyes, I probably wouldn't have believed it. A burly man stuffed an immortal ox's leg into his mouth and shouted excitedly. I knew that the monster emperor wouldn't be killed that easily. Monster spirits are a bunch of fucking lunatics. This has been known since the primordial era, and it's full of variables. Who knows if a monster will suddenly pop out of nowhere? Also, I heard that the monster emperor brought the demon court into the Skysplit Tower and upgraded the ancient city from Autarch rank to high immortal rank. An immortal rank artifact. There are no more than 3 of them in the entire chaos. Also, rumor has it that the demon court was upgraded with all 3,000 great Daos. In that case, its potential is even greater than that of the sovereign divine domain. It'd be a blessing to be able to cultivate in there. A woman in alluring attire sighed with yearning. The upgrade from Autarch rank to immortal rank was a process of finalization. For example, if you became immortal with 2,000 great Dao pillars, you wouldn't be able to add another great Dao to the artifact in the future. There would always be 2,000 great Dao pillars, and only 2,000 great Dao pillars could be strengthened. This was an eternal law. It wasn't that Autarch of the primordial era didn't want his sovereign divine domain to reach 3,000 great Dao pillars before upgrading, but the artifact itself might not be able to withstand the great Dao pillars and would collapse. Therefore, the materials used to construct the artifact were the most important. It's said that Autarch of Judgment and the Yao Emperor have made a life and death contract. In 10 years, they will have a decisive battle in the domain of life and death. It's unknown who will be the winner and have a last laugh. Since the Yao Emperor dared to agree, could it be that he has some powerful trump card that he hasn't revealed yet? Could it be that he can contend against the Autarch? No matter what, this is an unprecedented battle. No matter what, I will definitely go to the domain of life and death to watch the battle in 10 years. If I miss such a great battle, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. This is a challenge issued by a half-step sovereign to an Autarch of the primordial era. I can't wait to know the result. One expert after another continued to discuss. They exclaimed. They were very interested in the life and death battle that was about to begin in 10 years. They all expressed that they would definitely go and watch the earth-shattering battle with their own eyes. There was a unique region in the chaos. An invisible crystal wall appeared out of thin air. The boundless chaotic chi was directly blocked outside. Inside, layers of strange mist filled the air. Vaguely, countless terrifying demon gods were constantly changing their forms and roaring wildly. They were letting out truly terrifying demon roars. It was intimidating. No one could see what was happening inside. Even the crystal wall was filled with a strong, evil aura. At this moment, a vast and boundless continent appeared inside. This continent was even more ancient than the sovereign god realm. It was deep and terrifying. Every inch of the void and air was filled with a strong demonic aura. This demonic aura was filled with strong violence and ferocity. Outside the continent, there were also countless vast worlds that existed around the continent. On the continent, there were flowers and trees, mountains and rivers, the sun, moon, stars, mountains, plains, and so on. Almost everything that was on the purple gold continent could be seen here. Similarly, there were huge demon gods living here. On the continent, there were many huge ancient cities standing tall and upright. Every ancient city exuded the vicissitudes of time and traces of war. On the city walls, there were traces of various weapons. Every ancient city could accommodate hundreds of millions or even tens of billions of demon gods. It could be seen that the flags hanging in these ancient cities were actually different. Most of the demon gods living here were also different. For example, the ancient city built by the eight-armed demon god. This ancient city was built somewhat crudely, but the number was unusually large. Within the city, there was no fighting. However, outside of the city, even members of the same clan would fight each other to the death. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.